Infinite projection room begins with the projection of Ultron's world destruction. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 976. NIU. Shanten is not here. I'm okay again. The Nastis took off. The awakened Kango and Ignis transformed at the same time while standing on the deck of the Nastis. Start. Zapirio. Start. Dark Zapirio. Ultraman Telega Composite. Dark Telega. Mirulu. Is the startup completed? It will be done soon. Mirulu asked after operating on the console for a while. Zinran, we don't have a pilot now. The Hane number 1 artificial intelligence is just a flight program. Is it really okay? Don't worry, I have the latest artificial intelligence program here, Hane Type 1.5. Combined with our manual operation, we can handle basic combat without starting the Nasran combat mode. Zinran inserted the brand new intelligence into the console. Hannah, start the Victory Falcon now. Ha 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 ha. After all, he escaped. The little golden bull said in a tone, as if he had seen through everything. Then let me show you my backup plan. The golden portal was activated, and a large number of absolute warriors were teleported to this battlefield in the wilderness. Although I failed to wipe you out at once, this place is still not in your favor. So what? No matter what kind of adversity we face, we will not give up. Go ahead, everyone. The battle between the Ultra Warriors and the Absolute Clan officially begins. Sega finds Hyperzeton. Even if the opponent is just a soul body, if it is the Hyperzeton that he was against back then, he still cannot be careless. The moment Sega appeared behind Hyperzeton, Hyperzeton began to counterattack, based on instinctive control. The opponent is a soul body and has no control yet. As biological weapons, the combat effectiveness of the Jeton clan is similar to that of the Special Air Machine, except for special individuals like the Terrajet. One looks at the body and the other at the pilot. Now the body is incomplete and there is no pilot at all. Sega's strength is enough to deal with it. Libut and Ignis teamed up to deal with a large group of small golden soldiers. Looking at Ignis, who was fighting calmly, Libut kicked a small golden soldier away, turned around and killed the small golden soldier behind him with the spreader spear, and then said to Ignis, compared to that time, your heart is also much calmer. I told you, don't read other people's hearts casually. Ignis used a dark light bullet to repel a small golden soldier and pointed at Libut, who was obsessed with him because he didn't attend Libut's dance class. I will contain them. You are responsible for killing them. Okay. Ignis stood in front of Libut and held back a group of small golden soldiers. Libut began to charge for a long time, and then dozens of 8-point light wheels flew out from behind Libut and cleared the field instantly. Ace, okay. Come together. Dark Zapelian Ray. Galaxium Ray. X Beta Spark. Facing the powerful enemy who once beat him to autism, even if he reappeared in the form of a soul body, X did not dare to neglect, and directly activated his strongest armor, Beta Spark armor. I'm going to fight, Sagogu. Don't think I'm still the same as I was back then. X held the Beta Spark Holy Sword and cut off 2 tentacles of Sagogu, rushed to Sagogu's side, suppressed Sagogu's mace with one sword, and then turned around and backhanded a sword to cut a huge scar on the red crystal on Sagogu's chest. The battle between Sega and Hyperzeton came directly to outer space. Facing Hyperzeton without a pilot, Sega had the combat experience of 3 experienced warriors, Sero, Cosmos and Ina. At this time, although the attribute panels of both sides were not much different, and the energy reserves were hard to describe, the combat skills of both sides directly formed a crushing situation. Sejia didn't choose to teleport continuously because of insufficient energy, but used fists and feet to beat Hyperzeton's soul body continuously. Saga used the Great Cosmic Vacuum combat method and hit Hyperzeton's soul body with one blow of Saga's drilling fist, severely damaging it. This power can break a Black King Kong bridge with one punch. Colorful light gathered on the fist and used his strongest blow. As a warrior of the same level as Noah, King Ao, and Legend, Saga is also the most special one. The other 3 have various powerful light skills that can blow up the universe at a disagreement, but Saga is the only one who uses fists. Saga's ultimate fist. The warrior who exceeds the limit, the warrior of miracles and hope, swung a punch that represents hope and transcends the limit, completely crushing Hyperzeton's soul. On the ground, X kept swinging the Beta Spark Sword to beat up Seigoku, who was much weaker than the Hell Yama that had been sealed for who knows how many years and carried endless resentment. Not to mention the Hell Monster Core that evolved through the Yama Thorn, those Yama clones that could fight Ultra Warriors head on. Even the movement skill and repair skill of the Hell Blood Pool could not be used. Without a physical body, the combat power dropped too much. X switched the Beta Spark Sword to the Beta Spark Bow form and shot a virtual arrow to kill Seigoku's soul body. In the center of the battlefield, Diablo, who laughed like Belia, looked at the 2 Ultramen in front of him. On the left was Zeta Delta Skyclaw holding Belia Dusk, and on the right was Trigger Composite holding Ring Arm. The little golden bull looked and thought, damn, there is no Flash, my father, so happy. This is a sure thing. Zeta and Trigger attacked the little golden bull at the same time, and Belia Dusk even dragged Zeta to chop at the little golden bull. He was extremely dissatisfied with this guy who copied his laughter. The little golden bull kicked Trigger away, turned around and hit Zeta with a numb hammer, and repelled Zeta. Terika held the ring arm's wet shape, and aimed at the little golden bull twice. Then, Zeta, who was repelled, held Belia Dusk, and chopped the little golden bull's abdomen. The little golden bull had no time to react, and Trigger controlled his right arm with the ring arm. Then, Zeta used Belia Dusk to chop several times, and each chop was a critical hit. Finally, he fell down humiliated by Trigger's sword. NIU was defeated again. This absolute Diablo looks very strong, but why does it feel that he is not even half as strong as Tartarus? Not only is he not strong enough, but he doesn't look like a person with a big picture. Holy Lord, are you saying that Diablo used a trick? I don't think using tactics to weaken your opponent is a big deal. Chapter 977. Question. The victory of Ultra Warriors. Bruce Wayne, it's not that he used a trick or anything, but my intuition tells me that this plan was not his idea. Bruce activated his skill, Batman's intuition. The video continues. Blade End. Disarm cut. Diablo's body was slashed twice on both sides, right in the waist. NIU fell down. X, who defeated Seigoku, and Zero, who defeated Hyperzeton and completed the disintegration, also rushed here. Tigger, Tager, Libert and Ignis, and the Nastis who assisted in clearing the soldiers. You are the only one left. The little golden bull, who was hit hard, was not panicked at all, and snorted coldly and said, the work of consuming the physical strength of the Ultra family has been completed. Naive. A tornado mixed with gold and black rose from the ground, and a monster similar to Gatangia appeared here with a roar like an elephant. That's Mega G. Is that the evil god from your world? Tigger took a fighting stance. Trigger's world was so similar to his own, so fighting in his world and fighting against Gatangia from their world was also within Tigger's expectations. Trigger's mood was a bit complicated. No, there's something. The voice of the stunner on the Nastis was cut off halfway through, and then the Nastis was cut in half. Yumi, stunner, Malulu. Libert showed his qualities as an excellent member of the Galaxy Rescue Team, and immediately threw out a capture net to save the control room of the Nastis. Because the sudden attack split the Nastis in two from the middle, the 3 people in the control room were unharmed under Libert's rescue. Absolute destruction. Here amid the screams of a group of Ultramen, 2 golden figures appeared from the golden portal. Wow questions Life Tower is absolute no absolute Tartarus. The little golden man laughed a classic laugh. He took a look around to make sure that the warrior who represented the justice of the universe was not here before he took action. After all, if Ryojido was invited out, he and the titans around him could still run for a while, but the little golden bull would lose another life. No, if it was Ryojido, he might not even have a heart left. Tartarus, did you bring Titan with you? The little golden man looked around at the Ultra Warriors that were knocked down by his sneak attack and said, just in case, we can deal with so many Ultra Warriors at once, which will greatly weaken the combat effectiveness of the Kingdom of Light. This kind of thing is of great benefit to the kingdom, and we should be cautious. Trouble. The little golden sword held the golden longsword and looked at the group of Ultramen who were knocked down. Tartarus, you shouldn't make any plans. Wouldn't it be better to take them down from the front with force? That's right, I can deal with them alone. Tartarus took a deep breath, and he was exhausted. Looking at the Ultra Warriors who supported each other, and then looking at his own group of teammates, Tartarus almost wanted to defect. Look at them, they believe in their teammates and support each other. Look at me, besides a group of cannon fodders that can only be used to consume the opponent's physical strength and energy. There are only 3 teammates. One is a real idiot and a scumbag. Tartarus is afraid that one day, when he wakes up, his subordinates will tell him that the little golden bull has defected. One is a martial arts fanatic, and his mind is full of various fights, and the other is still offline, and doesn't even go online. Speaking of which, most people may not believe that a martial arts fanatic who thinks about fighting is actually the most reliable teammate. WNM. But no matter how unsatisfactory life is, it still has to go on. Before one wakes up, he must live with this group of teammates. Diabolo. Titan. The opponent has more people. We still need a plan. What plan? Can't it be done directly like this? Titan swung his sword and danced out a golden sword energy, blowing up a group of Ultra Warriors. Sibber. Without my plan, can you chop them like chopping melons and vegetables? Exclamation mark. The little golden man suppressed his anger, waved his hand, and summoned a large number of cannon fodder golden soldiers from the portal to fight against a group of Ultra Warriors who were seriously injured and lacked physical strength and energy. He and the golden bull golden sword also joined them. A big battle? No, this is no longer a big battle. This is a favorable situation for the Absolute people. In the chaos, Zeta and Hiruki use their bodies to help trigger block a sneak attack from the Golden Man, but because of the serious injuries, they were directly beaten back to the human form. Senior Hiruki. Trigger rushed forward and handed Hiruki, who had transformed into a human form, to the Barrier Man underground, and then continued to fight one against many. You guys deal with the battlefield. I will go to obtain the power of the Eternal Core first. The little golden man opened the portal and left. He had other tasks. HMPH. What kind of plans are you making all day long? Little Taurus snorted disdainfully. Never mind. Let's destroy this planet. I don't care. Little Golden Sword and Libute started to fight in close combat, but Libute was not in good condition. Little Golden Sword did not make things difficult for him. After repelling Libute, he went to deal with other people. Titan. Why can't we live in harmony? Hearing Libute's words, Titan was silent for a moment and said, this kind of thing is not something new, and I can decide. I'm a warrior of the Absolute people. My responsibility is to fight, and to use my sword, to expand the territory of the kingdom. If there is a chance, let's be opponents in the next life. What do you mean by opponents in the next life? The little golden bull heard the words of the golden sword, and started to sneer. I hear you talk about that shitty swordsman's honor all day long, but in the end you still have to rely on my strength to win this battle. Diabolo. Shut your stinky mouth. Why, you want to fight? Strong power breaking bullfist. Facing Diablo's attack, Titan drew his sword without hesitation. Before the sword drain and the fist mark of the strong power breaking bullfist collided, the golden legendary door opened from the middle, and the classic, absolute destruction. Then, it was Tartarus with a black face who walked out of the smoke and flames. Question: how did the Ultra Warrior win in the end? This question and answer mode is a free answer mode. If you answer correctly, you will be awarded 10 points. If you answer incorrectly, you will draw a pain card. Answer time, 1 minute. Chapter 978. Trigger orthodoxy is not on TV anyway. Loki Odinson. This is not difficult. They must have used the dissension among the Absolutes to unite their forces and defeat them in one fell swoop. This is all old tricks. Loki Odinson answered incorrectly. Draw a pain card. TSK Loki's face was dark. He couldn't figure it out. Aren't normal scripts all based on this routine? The villain suppresses the protagonist, and then the villain fights for various reasons, and then they don't kill the protagonist group anyway, leaving a glimmer of hope for the protagonist group, and then let the protagonist kill them. The two of them are fighting. so shouldn't they take this opportunity to kill them? Loki felt that if he encountered this situation, he would definitely go up and fan the flames, let the absolutes fight each other first, and then he would reap the remnants last time. How great. But the story that fits the decent plot is wrong. Could it be that someone exploded? It can't be Noah's Deus Ex Machina, right? Although the possibility of Noah's Deus Ex Machina is not low, such a plot is too ugly. Since Loki has helped us eliminate a wrong answer, what else is possible? Peter thought for a while and said, if it is not the internal strife of the absolutes, then it is the outbreak of the Ultra Warriors or the intervention of other powerful forces. Doom's eyes lit up at this moment. Doom, the answer to this question is the outbreak of Trigger and Dark Trigger. Doom, this world is Trigger's world, and the absolutes want to destroy this world. Under the impetus of this emotion, the outbreak of Trigger and Dark Trigger is the most likely. Doom, this is my answer. Doom's answer is being judged. Half right and half wrong. The novice reward mechanism is activated, and Doom gets 10 points for this answer. Loki frowned when he heard it. He guessed that this was because Doom was unsure of the situation and deliberately chose a more vague answer. He didn't expect that the screening room actually had a novice protection mechanism. Why didn't I know it before? The screening room was secretly updated. Ultraman Hickory, if these two worlds are really that similar, my answer is that Trigger gathered the light of humanity, unlocked the shining form, and defeated the absolutes. Ultraman Hickory's answer is being judged, and it is very close to the answer, so it is judged correct. 10 points are awarded. Very close, but not correct. Ultraman Ace, in addition to the light of humanity, Trigger also gathered the light of other Ultra Warriors. Ultraman Ace's answer is wrong. Draw a pain card. Ultraman Ace. Ultraman Ace, there is no light from other Ultra Warriors? Then, what is the real situation? Bruce Wayne, I figured it out. Tartarus said before that he was going to obtain the power of the Eternal Core. That Eternal Core is also the key. The video continues. That's enough, you two. Tartarus warned the two. Now, destroy these Ultra Warriors. Before I get the Eternal Core, I don't want you to still be fighting each other after I come out. Tartarus returned to the portal with a gloomy face. None of these teammates made him worry. This is my time and space. Telega struggled to get up from the ground. He looked around. Zero and the other two were still fighting with the little golden man. The previous combination of Sega had seriously consumed their physical strength and energy. At this moment, the energy indicator lights on their chests had begun to flash. Ignis was attacked by Titan before. At this moment, he had turned back to his human form and came to the side of the barrier people. Together with the barrier people, he held the victory hypergun to help Libet attract firepower. Libet was surrounded by a large number of little golden soldiers. He wanted to rush to Titan, but there were 4 people around him who needed protection, so he was powerless. Axe, Tega, and Tiga joined forces to resist Megaj's attack, but Megaj still retained the power of the Eternal Core in his body. Under the protection of the Eternal Core, their attacks were useless. I want to protect everyone. I want to protect the smiles on everyone's faces. Terriga dragged his scarred, dilapidated body with flashing energy lights forward and fought desperately. He repelled 2 small golden soldiers and raised his hand to hit Megaj's body. With the help of the eternal power barrier on Megaj's body, he danced a palm-light bullet at the moment he was thrown away. But that was all. Because of the injuries on his body, the spinning trigger did not land steadily, but fell heavily to the ground. Several small golden soldiers immediately pounced on Trigger and punched and kicked him, and there was also a Minotaur among them. Enough, Giant Woo. If you continue to fight, you will die. The Impeller shouted anxiously to Giant Woo. Giant Woo, stop. Giant Woo. I want to protect everyone's smile. Facing Megaj who was targeting him, Giant Woo roared and pounced on him with his composite body and actually pulled Megaj's tentacles apart. Don't say such stupid things. Stop. No, it's not. Giant Woo blocked the wreckage of the Nastis with his own strength. In front of him were Megaj, Diablo, Titan and countless small golden soldiers. Everyone, do you know? Terrigal tried his best to push away a small golden soldier who wanted to get close. The energy indicator on his chest flashed so fast that the interval in the middle could not be seen, and it turned all red. A smile is the best gift people can give. After beating back the two little golden soldiers, Trigger's legs softened, and he fell to his knees. But when he saw Diablo and Titan approaching slowly, he struggled to get up. If the person you like smiles, you will be happy too, right? He dragged his almost exhausted body, squeezed out the last bit of strength and rushed over. Even if it was just to delay the companions behind him for a second. A smile can bloom the next smile. Trigger's weak fist fell on Diablo's breastplate. I wish, not to say it once, but to say it repeatedly. Terrica was chopped by Titan's golden sword. Sparks flickered fiercely, but he had no strength to scream. Smalu smalu oh. The energy indicator light on his chest lost its luster, and even his eyes lost their luster. Terrica fell down. Chapter 979. Laugh at the jokes, not the people. Jian Wu is a true man. Sword enlightenment. Terrica fell down, and the giant's body raised a cloud of dust. The impaired looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief, and memories of the past emerged in his mind. This was a memory filled with Smalu and Wu Lasei. The impaired. Don't be unhappy Smalu Smalu Wu Lasei. The impaired. Get out of the way. Why are you so impulsive today? Wu Lasei. That guy. I must kill him with my own hands. The impaired. Is it you? What are you doing here? Well, I just happened to pass by here on patrol. You patrol without a team uniform and you can patrol to Jiming's house. Be careful that you will be put in solitary confinement for being lazy. Wait a minute. A white rose was handed to the impaired. Are you kidding me? Do you know what the flower language of white roses is? A smiling face came over. It's a promise. Numerous Smalu and Wu Lasei are omitted in the middle. Zinran. Smile. Wu Lasei. I don't want to send you away with a smile. If you want to see me smile, then come back early. Well, I'm leaving. During the 2 years that Jian Wu went to the Eternal Core to work overtime, Zinran went to the temple more than once to pray for Jian Wu, and also said that he would never say Wu Lasei again before Jian Wu came back. Looking at the evil Trigger in front of him, the fear that could take his life at any time eroded his heart all the time. However, he still faced the evil Trigger and stood in front of Jian Wu with the other people from TPU. You are wrong. This has nothing to do with light. Kengo is neither light nor Ultraman. He is just a human being, our partner. If you want everyone to smile, then we choose to make you smile. Kengo. Shinshu Kengo. The heart-wrenching scream of the impeller echoed on the battlefield. They had experienced life and death together before, but this was the first time that the impeller saw Trigger fall in front of him with his own eyes. Trigger was knocked down many times by countless powerful enemies, but each time he would turn into Kengo's human form. And this time, Trigger fell, and Kengo did not come back. Kengo once talked to him about his memories as Trigger, one of which was that, if the energy indicator lights in his eyes and chest went out at the same time, then the giant would truly die. Kengo, didn't you say you would make us smile? If you're not by my side, by our side, how can I, Yumi, and everyone else smile? You are our partner, an inseparable part of our lives. Stand up, Trigger. Stand up, Kengo. Stand up, Kengo. You are Trigger. You are Trigger who can make everyone smile. At this moment, it seemed as if the world was focused on Trigger. The light on his body was all extinguished, and his heavy body was driven by willpower. After him Jun, the second real man who could stand up and fight, even when the light went out, was born. Terrica held onto Titan's breastplate and supported his body almost by sticking to Titan. Titan's sword had already been raised high, but it could not fall. The Trigger in front of him was a real warrior. A warrior worthy of his respect and admiration. The sword in Titan's hand could not fall. But Neo can. When Diablo saw that Titan didn't want to do the great work of defeating an ultra warrior, he grabbed Trigger's arm without saying a word and punched Trigger in the chest. Seeing that all the light on his body was extinguished, but Jian Wu still stood up and continued to fight, everyone was moved. This is no longer a simple explosion. This is a battle that breaks through his own limits. This is equivalent to asking a person lying on an IQ bed to fight Tyson. Diana Prince, Diablo has no sense of honor as a warrior. It doesn't deserve to be called a warrior. Ganata, although I don't quite understand the honor of a warrior, Trigger is like that. Anyone with mainstream logic will not have the heart to do it. Bruce Wayne, judging from Titan's reaction, the thinking logic of the absolute people should be similar to that of the Earth. This may be a characteristic of the universe of the Kingdom of Light, so the problem should not be the absolute race, but Diablo himself. The video continues. Diablo grabbed Trigger's arm and punched Trigger in the face, sending Trigger flying. Asshole. Let go of Kengo. Activate. Galatron. Galatron spark shooting. The impaired man took out the Galatron secret key he made in his spare time, aimed at the Taurus shoulder armor, and fired a shot. A stream of light calmly fell on the Taurus shoulder armor, and then a colorful magic circle bloomed, directly blowing the Taurus off. Fuck. What the hell? Ultraman Ace, Galatron? Wait, this thing seems to be the super robot that Brother Zoffy told us about before. How can this pistol have such a powerful effect? The key point is the USB flash drive. The impaired man threw it away after using it once. It should be a disposable item. Ultraman Hickory, Galatron. I remember seeing in the data transmitted back by Hickory's aura that the opponent was Emperor's weapon. Has this world also been invaded by Emperor's Dark Empire? Ultraman Hickory. If so, does it mean that Emperor has also mastered the ability to travel through different universes? The video continues. The little golden bull was stunned. How could a mere human hurt himself? The impaired man was anxious. The anxious impaired man showed them the power of a scientist. I'm just a scientist. I don't have the power of Trigger, but I also want to use my own power to protect my partners. Asshole. A mere human dared to attack me. The secret of the universe fantasy beast fist. The vigorous bull breaking fist. Start. Vigor fighter. Flame crusher. The cripple took out the Dagon key, one of the few secret keys he had kept in his chest, and fired a shot that was equal to the vigorous bull breaking fist of the little Taurus. Dagon. Please lend me the power to protect my friends. The shadow of Dagon flashed past the cripple. The flame crusher, which was originally at a disadvantage, was greatly stimulated and directly blasted the vigorous bull breaking fist, causing the little Taurus to be blown away. Start. Bruton. Another shot. The power of Bruton. Don't worry about how this thing was stuffed into the monster key. As a super scientist who could come up with the Zeta original key in less than 10 minutes, it is normal for the Earth Hickory to have a Bruton, right? Distorted the space around Trigger and protected Trigger for a short time. Chapter 980. Trigger offline. This won't do. The two pistols in Malulu's hands finally stopped firing for a while, and she said anxiously, "We have to think of a way." Then smile. Jiming looked at the three of them and said, "Smelu smelu." Ah. Yeah, let John Woo see our smile. Ignis walked to the side of the barrier and put his hand on the barrier's shoulder. Don't forget, for John Woo, the smile on other people's faces is his best. Yes, that guy. No matter when, what makes John Woo excited is the smile of others. Malulu grabbed the barrier's hand and said, as long as he feels that the thing to be protected is right in front of him, John Woo will definitely be able to surge with strength. Jiming looked at the space distortion protected by the power of Bruton and was about to end and took a deep breath. Yashala's ring had already been transformed into the carrier of the Shining Trigger key in the battle with Zeta and became the Shining Trigger key and sent to John Woo. In these years, the Eternal Core has almost no response. All the super ancient ruins have lost their original power due to the silence of the Eternal Core and have become archaeological excavation sites. She knew that her mission was over the moment Yashala's ring left. She could not exert Yashala's power, but she was unwilling to give up. She must do something, do what she can do. Whether she is a human being or a descendant of Yashala, what she can do. The power of Trigger Shining type is very special, and its source is the Eternal Core. As a powerful force that can destroy this universe, even if the Eternal Core separates a little bit of power, it is a very terrifying source of power for the outside world. The first time Trigger obtained the Shining type, he was completely unable to control this power, and this power was sealed in a secret key. Unlike Trigger's three basic forms, the power of the Shining type would be used less and less, and in the end, only an empty shell with slightly higher basic attributes would remain. In the beginning, because John Woo could not control it, He not only made himself very exhausted when he used the shining type, but also caused the shining type secret key to leak electricity crazily, resulting in insufficient stamina in the later stages. Even if the shining type later had a throttle, the shining type, which could not get energy replenishment, still began to decline day by day, and had no face at all. What Jiming is holding now is the shining type secret key. This secret key, which is carried by her family's ancestral ring, is essentially her ancestral ring, and can still barely play its role. Yuming, what are you doing? I want to let Kengo see more people's smiles. Yusa, please lend me your strength. Yuming held up the shining key, and a blue-white energy mixed with a hint of golden light spread in all directions, covering the entire world in an instant. The huge load almost made Yuming fall down, but she persisted. For Kengo, she must not fall down. Kengo did not give up, and did not fall down, and I absolutely cannot do that either. Everyone, Ultraman Trigger needs your strength. A voice was transmitted to the ears of people all over the world. Everyone heard this voice, and those who were sleeping even went to the battlefield in the form of dreams. Terriga, there are more Ultra Warriors who are fighting with all their might to protect our Earth and our home. They need our strength. Smile, everyone. Let Ultraman Trigger see your smiles. It doesn't matter if you wear a mask, your smile can definitely be passed on to Trigger and the Ultra Warriors. Ultra Warrior. Terriga? Ultraman? People heard the call of Yumi and understood the cause and effect through the power of Yusa. Don't fall down. Ultraman Trigger. In the Space Pancake House, the young Asumami Canada shouted to the sky, you will not lose. Ultraman Trigger. By the way, smile. Smile. Ultra Warrior. In the Longman Group, Longman Soshao, the prince of the Longman Group, walked out of his father's office with a gloomy face. At this moment, he heard Yuma's voice. In a public middle school, there is a girl named Kira no Yui Chiharu. In an old rental house, there is a father and daughter from the planet Gyurgle. On his deathbed, Jan Woo seemed to hear someone calling his name. Terika. Terika, there are more people calling his name, and also calling Terika. I'm Terika, I can't fall down. I'm Terika. I'm Terika. The terrifying power tore apart every cell in Jiming's body, transmitted his voice to everyone on the earth, and then transmitted the voice of everyone on the earth to Jan Woo. All the pressure in between had to be borne by Jiming alone, which means that Jiming had to bear the responsibility of being a transit station for billions of human thoughts. Charles was sweating profusely when he saw this. Even if the secret key of the ring could help share some of the pressure, or even 99% of it, the remaining 1% could easily destroy a person's spirit. As the person who knew the most about mental power on his earth, Charles had off for this 18-year-old girl. This little girl is amazing. A transit station that bears the mental power of billions of people. Is this kind of pressure really something that humans can bear? Or is this the power of courage and friendship? Just when the terrifying mental load was about to tear Jiming's body apart physically, a hand was placed on Jiming's shoulder. The barrier. Dagon. Jiming saw the barrier and behind him, the shadow of Dagon. Note 1. Dagon. Hold on, my friend. The hand of the shadow of Dagon overlapped with the hand of the barrier. No, Dagon and the barrier completely overlapped. The arrival of Dagon and the help of the barrier suddenly lightened the terrifying load that Jiming had to bear, but it was not enough. The strength of the three of them was still not enough to completely share this pressure. Another hand was also placed on Jiming's shoulder at this moment, and the power of darkness surged from his body. Start. Dark Zapirio. Hold on, Miss Superb. Note 1. This is a trigger, if line that I conceived myself. I'll write it down when I have the chance. Anyway, what I write can't be worse than that of Hisao Naoki. But, damn, why did that bastard Hisao Naoki appear in Decade, and in the 18th and 19th episodes? Damn, after Ho-Ho Trigger, he comes to Ho-Ho Decade and Yor. Damn, if Hisao Naoki dares to let Yor be influenced by Smelu, I will directly perform the performance of washing my hair backwards. Chapter 981 Faith Clown. For our best, Terika. Ignis held the Dark Hyperion and activated the Dark Zapirio. This time, he did not transform, but used the power of Dark Trigger to help Jiming share more pressure. Another hand grabbed the corner of Jiming's clothes. Malulu used all her strength to endure this pain, even if it's only a little bit. And us. Daruki took out the Zeta sublimator and shared most of the pressure. Zeta and I are also your partners. Go. Kengo. The Impeller shouted at Trigger, how long are you going to sleep? Kengo heard countless voices. They were all calling for Trigger. Almost. Kengo tried hard to gather his strength, just a little bit, but this point was like a natural chasm. Don't give up, Kengo. The battle has just begun, Kengo. Beat them with a smile, Kengo. Although we are far apart now, our hearts are still closely connected. We are always by your side, Manika. Kengo, when I first met Trigger, I thought Trigger would be like Tigger, leading mankind to a better future as a savior. Later I found out that I was wrong. Trigger is a human being, and Trigger is Manika Kengo. Manika Kengo is a human being. Manika Kengo may not be as omnipotent as a god, but Manika Kengo is a human being, a member of TPU, and an important part of us. Someone was calling his name. It was team member Hikario, Malulu, team member Teshin, Captain Tatsumi, and President Shizuma. They were not calling Trigger, but Kengo. Manika Kengo. User please. Jianwu needs my strength. Under Jiming's shout, the blue and white figure reappeared. I want to make Jianwu smile. The calls of the companions were mixed in with countless voices calling Trigger, and they seemed small but firm, like a lighthouse standing in the storm in the vast ocean, guiding the lost travelers home. I'm Trigger, I'm the light. I'm Zenzang Jianwu. What is going on? Seeing countless thoughts pouring into the body, not only did he not transform directly into a shining hammer to blast the darkness like Tigger, but it was Jianwu who was in a trance. The group of people in the screening room were at a loss. Loki Odinson, Daoization. Wanda, what? Loki Odinson, Daoization refers to a person being assimilated by the great way between heaven and earth. Becoming a part of heaven and earth. Loki Odinson, in my book that guides the condensation of godhood, a large part of the space is devoted to explaining this part. This is a very dangerous situation. Very dangerous. Loki Odinson, that book teaches that faith can make you a god. It takes a lot of faith to condense the godhood and ignite the divine fire. If your heart is not simple enough, your heart will be overwhelmed by the faith of mortals, and you will become the god that mortals think of, a slave of faith. Loki Odinson, once faith becomes Taoism, you will be controlled by the faith of mortals. If mortals think you like killing, then you will like killing. If mortals think you are cold and ruthless, then you will be cold and ruthless. If mortals think you like to eat dirt, then you will really like to eat dirt. Loki Odinson, at that time, you will not be you will be that god. Loki Odinson, Trigger is like this now. Zenzang Jianwu is a person, but too many humans regard him as Trigger. It is impossible for a mortal to accept the call of billions of people at the same time. Arceus, you are right, but you are not right. Arceus, Shinshu Kengo is the light. He is the giant of light. He is Trigger. I can see that the 3 secret keys are essentially 3 keys to unlock the powerful power of light in Shinshu Kengo's human body. The power of the giant of light is too terrifying for a human body, so in the form of a human body, the power of the giant of light is dormant. When it is used, a key is needed to unlock the lock that seals the power. Ultraman Ace, that's right. Many young warriors will experience this situation when they transform into human bodies. Without the transformation device, they can only unlock the power in their bodies when their emotions reach their peak. Ultraman Ace, generally speaking, this situation can be adapted after trying a few more times, but the problem lies in the days when you can't adapt. Ultraman Hickory, so the transformation device was born. Ultraman Hickory, like the energy indicator, the transformation device is also a must-have for every Ultraman. Some experienced warriors can also use some special props, such as a special ore, to rub the transformation device by hand. Clark was quite envious when he heard this, and said that he also wanted to get one. His attributes in all aspects far exceed those of Earthlings, including his brain. The computing power of all computers on Earth combined is not even 1% of his brain's computing power, and he has such a powerful brain. The most brain consuming period every day is to use his super brain to limit his super strength. This is a very embarrassing thing. I eat so much every day, and then I have to control my own strength after consuming so much energy. Bruce once conducted a series of examinations on Clark. After ruining many test instruments in the base, Bruce came to a conclusion. You don't need to eat anymore. Even if you eat 10,000 blue whales every day, it is not enough to support the nutrients your brain needs to consume. The reason you have survived until now without starving to death is entirely due to solar energy. Clark really hopes that he can have a transformation device so that he can live with the power of an ordinary human being and he doesn't have to worry about controlling his power all the time, so he can relax. When he encounters danger, he takes out the transformation device and presses it. Clark changes into a Superman, appearing like Ultraman to save the world and fight against evil. Peter Parker, but Tigger didn't have this situation at that time. Peter Parker, I understand. Dago and Tigger can be regarded as two individuals. Tigger's body was left in the pyramid and later turned into a magic rod. Dago activated the magic rod and merged with Tigger's body in the magic rod, that is, light, and became an Ultraman. Peter Parker, after completing the last battle, the magic rod disappeared with the wind. Perhaps Tigger's body could not withstand such a powerful force. But Dago is fine, because Tigger used his body to help him bear it. Peter Parker and Mr. Arceus said that Trigger is Kengo, and Kengo is Trigger. Peter Parker, in other words, Jian Wu has to face the impact of those thoughts directly. He has to bear the thoughts of billions of people directly. Even if Jiming and others helped him to transfer them, Jiming and others only helped Jian Wu to bear 1% of the pressure at most. Jian Wu has to face at least 99% alone. Chapter 982. Play in 10 minutes. The 3-body problem. Death's eternity. Tony's scalp was numb. When he argued with the military guys, he only had to deal with a few people at most, but he was extremely impatient. If billions of people were talking in his head at the same time, I'm afraid his head would really explode physically. Wanda, Loki, does your book say that there is any solution to this kind of faith transformation? Loki Odinson, no, once the faith transformation is completed, the person is dead, and the living one is God. Loki Odinson, in that world, where everyone becomes a god, there are many steps before condensing the godhood and igniting the divine fire. Even the most basic theoretical knowledge needs to be learned for 80 years. The answer that is closest to the correct answer is Mr. Hikari's answer, which gathers the light of mankind into a shining form. Peter pondered for a moment, and when he thought of a possibility, his face suddenly changed. No, Trigger did transform into a shining form and defeat the Absolutes in the end, but it was Trigger who survived, not Kengo Shinshu. Image continues. Kengo, struggling in confusion, looked into the distance, which was the direction of Mars. Why are you so listless? Can you smile, Mom? Looking at his mother far away on Mars, Kengo recalled what his mother said to him when he came to Mars to meet her before the battle with Megaji. You have traveled through 30 million years, and you are a miracle child born from the will of light. When I held you in my arms, I knew it. So I was mentally prepared, and I told myself that one day you would leave me. Jian Wu, even if you are the incarnation of light, but for a mother like me, you are my only treasure. No matter what happens, I will believe in my son. Go back quickly. There are still many people who care about you waiting for you to go back. Okay, Smelu. Jian Wu's confused eyes began to become firm, and his soul, which was affected by countless sounds of Trigger, became clear. At this moment, Jian Wu awakened the light of his own heart. I'm both light and darkness, but I'm ultimately a human being. No matter how dazzling the light is, a person cannot shine alone. If there are companions around, even a weak spark can illuminate the entire universe. Everyone can become light, but only with companions can they shine. When the smile of human beings turns into light, they can shine forever. So, this is Trigger, and this is why I was born as a human being. I'm Trigger, with the light of hope to build the future, but I'm just an ordinary human who can become Ultraman. The ruins of the Eternal Core. Tartarus is currently leading a group of scientists from the Kingdom of Absolute to study how to take this extra large energy source away. At this moment, the originally calm Eternal Core suddenly rioted. The terrifying energy fluctuations prevented the little golden man from thinking, and a portal was activated to run away directly. The next second, the absolute scientists and instruments all became part of this universe under the power of the Eternal Core. The power of the Eternal Core penetrated the earth and merged with the shining trigger mithril in Jiming's hand, turning into a ball of light and flying towards Trigger in the Bruton barrier. Originally, the Titan holding the golden sword was ready to attack Trigger instantly after the barrier ended, giving the brave warrior the last dignity and a decent death. But at this moment, a golden portal suddenly appeared behind him and directly dragged him in. Originally, there was a similar portal behind Diablo, but NIU did not intend to go home, but instead prepared to give the newborn Trigger a full bull feast. Illuminate the universe, the light of heaven and earth. Note 1, Ultraman Trigger. Shining Trigger Eternal. In the dazzling golden light, the eternal light of hope turned into a giant of light and descended into the world. The three-pointed shining blade emerged from the timer on his chest, and a strangely shaped long sword also fell into Trigger's right hand. It is difficult for a single star to shine, but all the stars will shine forever, illuminating the universe, the light of heaven and earth. At this moment, the killer of the Absolute clan, Real was True SV, is online. Why? This is impossible. The little golden bull was blown away by the golden light just now. Looking at Trigger, who was emitting a terrifying aura that made him panic, the little golden bull seemed to have returned to the first time he came to this earth, when he was blown up by Trigger, who was also like this. Diablo, this is the power of light. I will not lose. Trigger turned his body, and the shining blade in the ring arm turned into a sword storm under Trigger's drive, tearing Mega G apart. The previously arrogant evil god screamed and disappeared completely. Everyone, please take my power. Shining Trigger waved his arm, and the energy of the Eternal Core and the light of hope poured into the bodies of all the Ultra Warriors present. This is impossible. The ultimate move of the Cosmic Beast Fist, Strong Force Breaking Bull Fist. Faced with Diablo's Cosmic Beast Fist, Shining Trigger did not dodge or block, allowing the Strong Force Breaking Bull Fist to hit him, and then he was unharmed. Shining Shield, Invincible Shield. Invincible written directly into the setting. Geraldus Beam. Shining's AP Rio. Under the multiple bombardment of many beams, Diablo fell. It's over, Trigger. Trigger slowly walked to Trigger's side and said, after we leave, we must also work hard to bring smiles to the people of this world. Yes. Trigger and Trigger touched their left arms, touched crosses, and a bond was established. Ultraman Trigger the Flower We Bloom. End next play. Ultraman Trigger the Flower We Bloom Easter egg in the Golden Kingdom. Tartarus walked out of the treatment cabin with Titan. I miscalculated. I didn't expect that Trigger could actually activate the Eternal Core and get anything from the Eternal Core. I'm afraid the Ultraman clan will have another powerful enemy in the future. Tartarus has regained his composure. Although he really wants to drag these stupid teammates out and shoot them for 5 minutes, they are the few higher level combat forces on his side, so he can't shoot them. Titan didn't say much and left silently. Diablo, how many hearts do you have left for your arrogance? Ultraman Trigger, we talk about blooming flowers Easter egg and play in 10 minutes. 3 body deaths. And note 1, the light of heaven and earth is mentioned in the X Theater. Compared with the original Ultra Ancient Light, the Shining Trigger Eternity I wrote also has the light of hope for mankind, so it was changed to the light of heaven and earth. People's wish to care about each other is the light that connects heaven and earth. Chapter 983, Send a Star. Heart? Ace was startled and asked the Ultraman who had transformed into Hayata's appearance, resurrection with a heart, is it the same type of ability as Taro's Ultra Heart? No. Taro uses one heart to repair himself, while this absolute Diablo uses hearts to resurrect himself. Hayata discovered that the body of Diablo, which was being repaired, was obviously different from Taro's. Diablo's resurrection should not be as good as Taro's. I'm afraid there is a limit to the number of times he can resurrect. In the screening room. 3 body, death's eternal life. Doom had also heard some stories about the 3 body from a group of old members, so the question was, in a world without any superpowers or magical powers, why was the title this time Death's Eternal Life? Could it be that the 3 body encountered a magical civilization behind the dark forest? Constantine made a bold guess. In the entire story of the three body, there are only two civilizations that have clearly appeared, humans and the three body. The unknown civilization that used particle attacks has never appeared. Theoretically, since there are countless civilizations in the universe, why can't there be a magical civilization? Logan, but I remember that the screening room mentioned during the last live broadcast of the Dark Forest that there is no such thing as magic in this world. Bruce Wayne, Logan, after so long, can you still make such a simple distinction between magic and technology? It is absolutely no problem for you to take a few small things that can be found everywhere in modern times, such as lighters and flashlights, and go back to the Middle Ages to pretend to be a wizard. Bruce Wayne, and after Arceus joined the group, I think we can no longer make such a rough distinction between so-called magic and technology. These two are essentially born from the same point at the beginning. Bruce's words made everyone ponder. He was right, but after seeing Arceus, the god of creation, their horizons were improved. At least in that world, where the magic and technology are the same thing as just a matter of words. Dr. Manhattan, I'm very happy to see the story of this world. This world has brought me a lot of inspiration. Arceus, is there anything interesting in this world? Dr. Manhattan, soften, water droplet, particle. Dr. Manhattan, they are all very interesting. Three-body death arts, here you go. Dr. Zhang handed Yun Xianming a newspaper. You have been in the hospital for many days, and you should also understand the situation outside. Yun Xianming took the newspaper, and the most prominent position was naturally the news of the three bodies and Ito. The three-body crisis has been announced, but society has recovered from the initial turmoil and unrest. Because the three-body invasion is too far away for them. That will happen 400 years later. When was 4 centuries ago? China was the Ming dynasty, and it seemed that Nahasi had just established the later Jin dynasty. The darkness of the West and Middle Ages had just ended. Steam engines would not appear for more than 100 years, and people would have to wait for more than 200 years to use electricity. If someone worries about what will happen 400 years later, it will be as ridiculous as worrying about the ancients. And Yun Xianming doesn't have to worry about it. According to the current development of his illness, he will be lucky if he can survive until next year, not to mention 400 years later. Huh. Is this the euthanasia act? Thanos, what time is this? Thanos is still very concerned about the follow-up story of the three-body problem. He has already moved Ebony Maw from the Dark Quadrant, and he has not decided where to go in the future. For the first time, the Cosmic Overlord felt confused. And the three-body problem, the story he watched when he first watched the live broadcast, the concepts in it, the Dark Forest, Soften, and the group of stupid and sad humans, as well as the wall facers who worked hard for humans, especially the wall facer Ei Diaz who died at the hands of his own people, and in the internal strife of humans. They left an indelible memory for Thanos. Logan, I don't know, but it should be the time when Luog was chosen to become a wall facer. Arceus, this world is not right. Dr. Manhattan, what's wrong? Arceus, let me see again. Let me see. I see this world. I see it's wailing. It's dying. Broken body and the smell of corpse. Constantine. Wailing. Death. Bruce Wayne. Broken body? Arceus, yes. This world is heading towards death. Towards the end. Arceus, all worlds will go to destruction, but the death of this world is not normal. It has scars all over its body. It is definitely not caused by the normal passage of time. The video continues. The old man in the bed next to Yun Xianming chose euthanasia. He didn't want to suffer anymore, and he didn't want to continue to drag his children down. Yun Xianming was invited to become a patient representative and watch the old man's euthanasia process. When Yun Xianming returned to his bed in a daze, he looked at the empty bed and felt great sorrow and fear in his heart. He was not afraid of death, but he didn't know what to fear. His college classmate Wen came to see him and left him a memory card with a balance of 3 million. It's not that Wen is so rich that he is a good person. He can pay so much for a classmate who has hardly contacted him since graduation and was just an acquaintance in college. But Wen is a real good person. On an outing in college, he crushed wild grass and put it into mineral water. This action gave Hu an inspiration, and Hu created a beverage brand that was a great success. So Hu came and unilaterally bought Yan Xianming's idea at the time with 3 million. Yan Xianming didn't care about the 3 million. He was a dying man. Even if it was 30 billion, it would be a pair of cold numbers if he couldn't save his life. Hu still left the money to Yan Xianming. Yan Xianming didn't get too excited. He just held the last glimmer of hope and consulted a famous oncologist, asking him directly if he had enough money, would his disease be cured? The answer was no. In this world, the most worthless thing is actually money. So how to use the money? Doom looked at Yan Xianming on the screen in confusion. This was different from the story of the 3-body problem that he had expected. He had previously listened to The Wall, The Dark Forest, The Water Drop, and the last dialogue between me and the 3-body world. Why was he now watching a terminally ill patient suddenly get a windfall? Only Arceus, the god of creation, started talking about the lamentation of this world. Don't worry, Doom. The story of the 3-body problem is very special. It can be said that it is different from all the stories we have seen before. They are not in the same style. Peter also wanted to know what Arceus was talking about. Is there any special power hidden in the 3-body universe? Send a star. Yan Xianming's idea came from 2 aspects. One was the Star Project, which was simply the United Nations auctioning stars. There were 2 main reasons for the Star Project. One was the effort to improve the status of the United Nations in the early stages of the crisis, and the other was the emergence and prevalence of escapism. The Star Project ended at the beginning, and the reason was very simple. The stars could not be sold. Only 17 of the more than 300,000 stars were auctioned, and all were sold at the reserve price. But the United Nations didn't care. The Star Project was essentially political propaganda, and the United Nations didn't expect it to have any practical benefits. The Star Project was quickly forgotten, but it was only forgotten, not abolished. So Yan Xianming planned to spend his own 3 million to buy a star and give it to someone. This person was also the second reason for his idea, and the most important reason. Chengxin. I heard that the screenwriter that Netflix found for the 3-body problem is a classic white leftist. I can't believe what the 3-body problem will be changed into. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 984. A few hundred million is not expensive. Yan Xianming found Hu Wen and asked him to find out about Chengxin. Yan Xianming anticipated Hu Wen's reactions, but he just sighed and helped him in the end. He recalled his first interaction with Chengxin, which was an outing, when he asked Hu Wen to give him the grass-flavored mineral water. That time, Hu Wen told him not to think too much, because Chengxin was equally good to everyone. Yan Xianming knew, so Chengxin would not know who the gift was. That afternoon, Yan Xianming asked to go out, and declined Dr. Zhang's request to accompany him. He wanted to go alone. The person in charge of the Star Project is the UNESCO Beijing office. The girl who received him invited the director out. The director is the director of the UNESCO China office, and one of the leaders of the Asia Pacific Star Project. As the first domestic purchaser of stars, they originally planned to hold a ceremony to promote and publicize the Star Project. But Yan Xianming refused without hesitation. He didn't want to make such trouble. And there won't be anyone as stupid as me here. Yan Xianming almost said this. Soon, Dr. He, a researcher at the BJ Observatory, who was in charge of the specific affairs of the star auction, came in and introduced the star he wanted to buy to Yan Xianming. Try to be as close as possible, with planets, preferably Earth-like planets, Yan Xianming said, while looking at the star map. Dr. He recommended a star to him, which was also the only star Yan Xianming could buy. How far is it? 286.5 light years from the solar system. Too far. Sir, I can see that you are not an amateur in astronomy. Then think about it. For us, how big is the difference between 286 light years and 28.6 billion light years? Dr. He's words were recognized by Yan Xianming, and then Dr. He said the biggest advantage of this star, it can be seen. Yan Xianming nodded in agreement. Chengxin could see the star, which was good. Its astronomical number is DX3906. After the formalities were completed, Dr. He called to notaries to handle the notarization procedures. The director brought two officials from the United Nations Development Program and the Natural Resources Commission, and they celebrated together. Your star. How romantic. Peter looked at the black leather folder handed to Yan Xianming and couldn't help saying, the girl named Chengxin is so lucky. What's the matter? Tony said with disdain. It's okay if others say this, but you still say this? Do you think my private satellite is a decoration? You can't even see the surface of the moon. Well, although, it's really romantic. Peter blushed in embarrassment, and then he realized that something was wrong. I was seen by you when I was walking on the moon with Gwen. You should be more careful. Tony looked helpless. He had such strong power and firm belief, but in some aspects, Peter was almost not good at it, and even kept regressing. Is this the price of being chosen by the light? To sacrifice part of his emotional intelligence? At that time, all the satellites in the sky that could be used for surveillance were used to watch you. Two giants holding meteorites to repair the moon may be the first time since the creation of the universe. There is no one before and there is a high probability that there will be no one after. Who wouldn't be curious? You don't have to worry about the later date between you and your girlfriend. I asked Jarvis to hack those satellites. Thank you, but I still think it's romantic to give a star to the person you love. Unfortunately, I'm just an ordinary student in my world and don't have the ability. But Mr. Stark, you can also give Miss Peggy a star. Tony thought about it. Anyway, it's only a few $100 million, which doesn't seem to be very expensive. It's not even as expensive as one of his battle suits. He has spent dozens of battle suits to set off fireworks. It's not a loss to spend the money of one battle suit to buy a star as a gift. If it can make Pepper happy, then I'll buy a few when I go back and leave one for you and your girlfriend. No, it's okay. It's only a few $100 million. It's cheap. What I mean is that the thinking mode of rich people is really different from that of ordinary people. Image continues after completing all the legal procedures. It was already dark. Dr. He said to Yan Xianming, next, I will take you to see your star. Oh no, the star you gave her. On the roof. It's impossible to see it in the city. We have to go to the suburbs. If you don't feel comfortable, we will go another day. No, let's go now. I really want to see that star. Dr. He drove Yan Xianming for more than 2 hours to the suburbs. The two left the sea of lights in the city far behind. In order to avoid the interference of car lights, he drove the car to the fields far away from the road. Here, Dr. He turned off the lights, and the two looked up and looked at the vast sea of stars that could not be observed in the city. With the help of Dr. He, Yan Xianming finally saw the X3906, a very dark point, which seemed to be there and not there. If you are not careful, you will lose it from your sight. Most people think that stars are silver, but if you look closely, you will find that they have different colors. DX3906 is a dark red. Dr. He said that he would give Yan Xianming a detailed data on observing DX3906 in different seasons. You are lucky as the girl you gave the star to. Dr. He lit a cigarette in the thick night. I'm unlucky. I'm dying. Yan Xianming found that Dr. He did not seem surprised by his words. Perhaps he had already noticed something. If that is the case, you are still very lucky. Most people never glance beyond the world until they die. Yan Xianming looked up. That was the light emitted by this star 286 years ago, and the light it is emitting now will not reach the earth until 286 years later. What kind of life will she spend? I hope she can remember that in the vast sea of stars, there is a star that belongs to her. Yan Xianming thought. When today's light reaches the earth, he and Chengxin will be dead. Especially for him, tomorrow will be the last day of his life. Yan Xianming means that he also wants euthanasia. I'm afraid so. His disease is incurable and incurable. For ordinary people, it is better to end this painful life than to live in pain when their wishes have been fulfilled. I think euthanasia is the last help for a patient. At least he will die without pain. Chapter 985, Yan Xianming. Today is Yan Xianming's last day. He woke up at 7 in the morning as usual. A beam of sunlight was cast on the opposite wall as usual. Even breakfast was the same as usual today. This day, like the past 28 years, 11 months and 6 days, was nothing special. As if he was a fellow patient, Yun Chang-ming did not tell his family about his euthanasia. He wanted to leave a letter for his father, but in the end, there was nothing to say. At 10 o'clock, as agreed, he walked into the euthanasia room alone, as calmly as he went for a checkup every day. There were only 5 people in the euthanasia room, 2 of whom were notaries, 1 was a supervisor, a nurse, and a hospital leader. Dr. Zhang did not come. Yun Chang-ming did not like the previous decoration of the euthanasia room. He almost vomited when he saw the decoration in the euthanasia room for the first time. The hospital's original intention was good. This was originally an emergency room. Now it has been replaced with beautiful curtains, flowers, and even many pink heart-shaped patterns on the wall. But their approach was counterproductive, like decorating a grave into a new house, not only with the horror of death, but also with a very strong sense of weirdness. When he arrived, he specifically instructed the hospital. According to his request, the hospital changed the comfort room into an ordinary wood with white walls, which looked much more comfortable. Yun Chang-ming laughed at himself, and now things have become more complicated. With the help of the nurse, Yun Chang-ming lay in the comfort cabin. He thanked the nurse who inserted the needle of the automatic injection machine. He suddenly wanted to know who delivered him 28 years ago. These 2 people were the few people in the world who really helped him. He should thank them. The comfort program started. As the program progressed, Yun Chang-ming began to recall his life, childhood, youth. He was born in an intellectual family. His parents were both in a very poor situation. They did not have aristocratic status, but gave him aristocratic education. Yun Chang-ming became more and more lonely under this kind of education, because his parents thought that the people and things around him were vulgar, and they firmly opposed Yun Chang-ming making friends with those vulgar people. In middle school, their parents divorced. Because of the third party of Yun Chang-ming's father, both of them later formed a new family, and the other party was a vulgar person in the mouth of Yun Chang-ming's parents. Throughout middle school, Yun Chang-ming became more and more withdrawn, more and more sensitive, and more distant from the crowd. These memories are all gray. University. In his imagination, university is a place that makes him uneasy. The strange environment and strange people are another difficult adaptation process for him. When he first entered university, everything was almost the same as he imagined, until he met Chengxin. It's not that he has not been attracted to other girls, but Chengxin is different. The appearance of Chengxin made him feel that everything around him that was strange and cold was suddenly filled with soft and warm sunshine. Chengxin is not talkative, beautiful and taciturn, but this does not mean that she is a cold beauty. She doesn't talk much, but is willing to listen, and listens with sincere concern. Her clear and calm eyes, when she listens, tell everyone that they are important to her. Unlike others, Chengxin did not ignore his existence and greeted him with a smile every time they met. Later, she became the first person among her classmates to omit his last name and call him Chang-ming. In the extremely limited interactions, Chengxin gave Yun Chang-ming the most unforgettable feeling. She was the only one who knew his fragility and seemed to be really worried about the harm he might suffer. Yun Chang-ming knew his situation, so he didn't have any hope at all. Just as Wen said, she was good to everyone. The 4-year undergraduate career ended. Yun Chang-ming failed the postgraduate entrance examination, and Chengxin easily passed the postgraduate entrance examination of the same school. Yun Chang-ming chose to stay near the school, just to see Chengxin more after school started. But fate made people. Chengxin followed her mentor to another city, while he successfully entered a company that converted aerospace technology to civilian use. University. The sun's rays shine through the clouds. Society. After experiencing the social beatings of being sold several times and helping others count money, Yun Chang-ming finally realized the evil of society, so he missed the campus and once again stayed away from the crowd, shrinking deeper into his own spiritual shell. In these years, he has not inquired about Chengxin's news, but occasionally has some guesses. Society. The sun disappeared, and it was cloudy. Sick. When his lung cancer was diagnosed, it was already in the late stage, which may have been delayed by the previous misdiagnosis. Lung cancer is the fastest spreading cancer, and he has not much time left. He is not afraid, but lonely. Yun Ming doesn't think he will have a grave. The grave is too expensive. However, if there is, he hopes to write, came, loved, gave her a star, and left. The confirmation ceremony came to the end, and there was a commotion outside. Almost at the same time that Yun Ming pressed the death button, the door leading to the comfort room was knocked open and a group of people rushed in. Several staff members in charge of euthanasia almost dismantled Yun Ming's euthanasia capsule with a noise like demolition. Then, people gathered around to check the hose. He heard a relieved voice, as if to say, fortunately, the liquid medicine has not come out yet. Then, the nurse began to treat Yun Ming's bleeding left wrist. And Yun Ming saw a person. Chengxin. Yun Ming thought this was heaven, and he hoped that this tranquility could continue forever. Chengxin said something that surprised him. Ming, do you know? The euthanasia law was passed for you. Doom felt itchy in his heart, not because of the plot so far, but because of Arceus's words. He urgently wanted to know what happened in this universe, why this world was called scarred by Arceus, and the stench and wailing of death were everywhere. He urgently wanted to know these, instead of watching these meaningless sad dramas here. He didn't understand what was so good about this, especially the giant of light next to him who was said to have the power to repair the moon. Why did he watch it so closely? Exclamation mark. Why did you cry? Exclamation mark. Is this the attitude of a dimensional demon, a powerful person who has the power to control the life and death of a planet? Yesterday, the 3-body animation was released on B Station on December 3rd, and I have reached the 1000th chapter today. This must be the arrangement of fate. Woohoo. Oh my god, or 1000 chapters, I actually did it, and the new book has exactly 10,000 collections. What a coincidence. Chapter 986. Thomas Wade. Doomu couldn't figure it out. The video continues. Chengxin caught up with a good year. For her personally, the year she just finished her studies and started working happened to be the year when the 3-body crisis broke out. Her major was aerospace, and then she naturally joined the research group that developed the engine of the new generation of Long March rockets. It seems both important and core, but Chengxin herself knows very well that relying on chemical rockets may never enter the real aerospace age. Nowadays, people praise rockets and think that they represent the aerospace age. But this is just like the chimneys that people thought represented the industrial age at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Chengxin realized this very early, and so did an officer named Zhang Bihei. Chengxin deliberately expanded her knowledge as much as possible, and took many courses on nuclear energy. Her ability was appreciated, but she firmly believed that chemical aerospace engines were already on the decline. In it, neither individuals nor teams could go very far. Stopping in the wrong direction was equivalent to moving forward, and her work meant devoting herself to the wrong direction, which once made her very distressed, but a turning point soon appeared. The United Nations began to establish various organizations related to planetary defense, and one of them hoped that Chengxin could go. So Chengxin went. The most important task of this department at present is to try to obtain information about the Trisolar world through the Earth Trisolar organization. This department is abbreviated as PIA. When Chengxin came here to report, she found that she was the first to arrive. She met her future boss, Mikhail Vadim, director of the Technical Planning Center. After listening to the Russians' complaints in awkward English, she went up to see the director of PIA. So far, this has been like a plot process, until Chengxin met the director and heard his first sentence. Will you sell your M to Jai? Chengxin shook her head in horror, not answering, but suspecting that she didn't understand it well enough, or that her ears were not good enough to hear the director's words wrongly. The director Thomas Wade is very young, at least he looks younger than Vadim. Chengxin's first impression of him is that he looks like a cold statue moved from an oil painting. Ved's face was calm and calm. He waved his hand holding a cigar and said, "Thank you. Go do your thing." Seeing Chengxin running down with a look of horror on her face, Vadim told her after understanding the situation that this was indeed a witty saying in the intelligence industry. The general idea was whether you would betray or not. It was usually used by veterans to tease novices, because this industry was full of expectations and betrayals. At the beginning of the establishment of the intelligence and spy system, it was full of heroes like Longjin. Subsequent personnel who reported in arrived one after another, mainly from the permanent members of the Planetary Defense Council. Everyone was polite to each other, but full of suspicion and distrust. Professionals looked like they would never interact with each other, holding their pockets tightly for fear that someone would steal something. Intelligence personnel were unusually active and friendly, always wanting to steal something. As Vadim said, compared to scouting the three-body world, these people were more interested in gathering intelligence on each other. Thanos, it's like this every time. The humans in this world have never changed. Loki Odinson, according to the timeline, the Wallfacer project has just been launched, and humans have not learned their lesson yet, although given their stupidity, they probably won't learn from it even if they do. At the meeting a few days later, Vader stated his requirements directly. Bea will launch a probe to the Trisolaran fleet. Everyone was shocked. Bea has just been established. Although there are people like Cheng Xin who can quickly get rid of trivial matters and get to work, it's too fast. At present, Bea has just been established, and none of the branches in various countries and regions have been established, so it does not have the conditions to officially start work. In the shock of everyone, only Vadim asked calmly, are there any specific indicators? After all, on this planet, there is no project that the Russians dare not take. The probe must reach 1% of the speed of light. That is to say, if we consider the acceleration phase, but not the deceleration, the probe will reach the Oort cloud in 2 to 3 centuries, and their contact, and detect the Trisula fleet that has begun to decelerate. This doesn't sound like what our generation should do. Ved's tone is always so cold, but there is a light in the deepest part of his eyes. Future technological progress has now become an uncertain thing. If humans have been moving at a snail's pace in space, then we should start crawling as soon as possible. Thanos, if this Vader was chosen as the Wallfacer, perhaps the 2,000 human fleets would not have been set off by the water droplets, and LUOG would not have been tortured for so long. Wonder, but LUOG is the one who knows the lore of the Dark Forest. Thanos, no, when I saw the flame in Vader's eyes, I knew that, even if Vader didn't know the lore of the Dark Forest, his achievements would not be lower than LUOG. Thanos, that is the look that only a true martyr can have. Vader's heart is definitely not as calm as he appears to be. He is a madman, a complete madman. Thanos, only this kind of madman can lead a civilization on the verge of extinction to survive. Bruce Wayne, do you mean to say that he is another Rei Diaz? Thanos, no, Rei Diaz is not as good as him. Eric showed a helpless look on his face. It was the same last time, but the last time it was 3 scientists who didn't speak human language, and this time it was Thanos. At this time, Janitor also digested the content of the Dark Forest, and at the same time, felt that this was a very incredible thing. I feel that the so-called Dark Forest is not true. Janitor said, if it is really as you said, then it should be very easy for a civilization with such powerful technology to transform the environment of some planets. Image continues, but according to the current space speed of mankind, it will take 20,000 to 30,000 years to reach the Oort cloud. If a probe is launched now, it may not have flown out of the door when the enemy fleet arrives in 400 years. So 1% of the speed of light is an indicator that must be achieved. Increase the current space speed by 100 times? This is absolutely impossible at present. 1% of the speed of light. Chapter 987, Stairs. Hikaru gradually felt a very special feeling. Unlike other stories, the universe of the three-body problem is very rigorous. The speed of light, this word seems so sparse and common in other universes. The Flash in Bruce's universe can even run at this speed in the flesh, and their Kingdom of Light also has some technology that can easily reach the speed of light. But such equipment is useless in the Kingdom of Light, because Ultraman himself is a light particle life form, and they can reach the speed of light by themselves. Interstellar travel uses space jump ships. The distance from the Kingdom of Light to the Earth is 3 million light years, and it only takes a meal to rush there at full speed. In the 3-body universe, 1% of the speed of light is already 100 times the fastest space speed of Earthlings. From the perspective of Earthlings, the gap brought about by this sense of insignificance made Hikaru feel a huge sense of falling in his heart. The video continues. Video's words silenced the group of scientists. Vader said bluntly, "I know you are all laughing at me in your hearts, but that's okay. Oh, it seems that there is still one person who doesn't laugh at me. Cheng, tell me your idea." Cheng Xin proposed her own idea, based on Vader's use technology, to change the principle, bypass the principle. The most likely resource to be used at present is nuclear weapons. In the absence of technological breakthroughs, nuclear weapons are the largest energy body of mankind at present. Cheng Xin proposed an idea that seemed unrealistic, or like a child's fairy tale to a group of expert scientists in the field of aerospace. That is to use nuclear bombs as a propulsion force, to drive the spacecraft to accelerate forward. Is this possible? Why not? Without those ideas, that seemed like dreams to ordinary people. How could human beings develop to the present level? Tony said, the energy generated by the nuclear bomb explosion continuously propels the spacecraft forward. Because there is no air in space, as long as the spacecraft does not collide with obstacles, it will eventually reach a speed that seems impossible to reach under continuous acceleration. When the upper limit of technology is locked by the sovereign, it seems that the only way is to use the existing technology to develop horizontally. What is the technological level of the Trisolarian Earth? In the eyes of any of them, it is not high. The technological level of the Trisolarians shocked them, but the level of the Earth was not good enough. The surface civilization has just taken the first step into the universe. The strongest weapon at present is nuclear weapons. This thing is okay for fighting civil wars, but it is a joke to fight in space. Decades of internal involution have only produced a group of civil war kings. And there are no magical powers that defy the heavens, let alone strong men like Hulk and awakened Thor who can explode stars by themselves. Even the cyborgs like Black Widow do not exist. It is even more impossible for a group of aliens who work tirelessly for the peace of the universe to come down from the sky to help them with justice. They can only rely on themselves. Although they already know that in the later story, LUOG uses the Dark Forest Law to establish a deterrence system to force the Trisolarans and the Earthlings to talk about it, they still feel distressed when they return to the present. The video continues. The discussion was ignited. Although these scientists are not as active as Cheng Xin in thinking, they are all solid in terms of academic level. So when they realize the feasibility of this plan, these people are like a group of hungry wolves encountering a large piece of fresh meat. Vadim said after a short silence, a big advantage of this plan is that it is easy to start. All of them are smart people, and they soon understood the meaning of Vadim's words. The first step of the plan is to send a large number of nuclear bombs into orbit, which is easy. There are too many ready-made tools. Moreover, after the outbreak of the Trisolaran crisis, all countries have reached a plan to reduce nuclear weapons on a large scale. Instead of wasting time and effort to consume a lot of manpower, material resources and financial resources to deal with these things, it is better to let them make some contributions to the development of mankind. Finally, this plan was named Ladder Plan. The radiation cell can be made very thin and light. Now the only problem is the detector itself. Its total weight must be at least 2 to 3 tons. No. Vadim shook his head firmly. It must be as light as a feather. Compress the detection function to the minimum, about 1 ton. This is a bit too little. I don't know if it will work. Then 1 ton, relying on the power of all mankind to push it. 1 ton is already very light. A week passed in a flash. After a week, 4 preliminary feasibility study reports from 4 space agencies were sent here. The good news is, the results are very close, and the mass of the radiation cell can be reduced. The bad news is, in order to reach 1% of the speed of light, the detector must continue to reduce its weight, and the maximum can only be 1/5 of the original estimate, that is, 200 kilograms. Then remove the weight of the cell. Only 180 kilograms are left. Then Wade brought even worse news. The ladder project has been rejected. Cheng, you are very unhappy. Wade looked at Cheng Xin. You obviously think that we should retreat from the ladder project. Under the puzzled gazes of a group of scientists, He stood up and said as he walked, "We will not retreat. From now on, no matter it is the ladder project or any other plan or matter, you can only retreat when I order you to retreat. Before that, you can only move forward." The next second, a roar like a volcanic eruption sounded in the conference room. Wade happened to walk behind Shenzhen at this time. She felt like a volcano erupting behind her. She was so scared that her shoulders tightened and she almost screamed. He suddenly changed his usual calm and cold tone and roared at the top of his lungs like a mad beast, "Forward! Forward! Forward by any means necessary. What should we do next? Send someone." When Vader uttered these words, he returned to his cold tone. After a long time, the others realized that Vader was not talking about sending a person to a certain place on Earth, but directly sending him to the cold Oort cloud a light year away to scout the Trisolaran fleet. Madman. This plan won't work, it's too crazy. But for the humans in that world, they can either die in silence or find a way to survive in madness. But what's the point of doing this? There are too many meanings. To the Trisolarans, the people of Earth are like me 6 versus the KGB. Single item transparency is a nice term. As long as the spies send their consent back any bit of information, it will be a great success. That will be a breakthrough from 0 to 1. Chapter 988. You are called the Three-Body Civilization? Captain America. No, this plan has a fatal flaw. Captain America, the biggest and only advantage of Earthlings over Trisolarans is the opacity of their thinking. What if the Earthlings sent over are dissected by Trisolarans? What if Trisolarans have mastered the key to the opacity of Earthlings' thinking? Tony Stark. That's right. We don't know how good Trisolarans' biotechnology is. Because we don't know, none of us can determine whether Trisolarans can break through the mental barrier and dissect the spy to make Earthlings' thinking transparent, let alone whether they can block the transmission of information. Janitor, is that Sophan really that powerful? Thanos, at least on Earth in that universe, Sophans are absolutely unsolvable. No, there may be another way. That is to build a large number of particle accelerators to drag down Trisolarans alive. Thanos, the resources consumed by Trisolarans to create Sophans are enough to build a space fleet. Such a terrifying and huge resource expenditure is definitely not something Trisolarans can easily come up with. I don't know how much it costs for Earthlings to build a particle accelerator, but the limit of the Sophan is there, 10,000 units, so Earthlings just need to frantically build particle accelerators. When the number of particle accelerators exceeds the upper limit of the Sophan interference, the Sophan can only stare blankly. Bruce Wayne, this plan is feasible in theory, but it is impossible to operate in practice. The price of a particle accelerator starts at 1 billion, and the manpower, material resources, and land required. Bruce Wayne, the most important thing is that humans don't know the upper limit of the Sophan. They won't gamble, and they can't gamble. After listening, Janitor said, if possible, I would like to create 2 Sophans for fun. It sounds interesting. Janitor is not worried about the so-called Dark Forest at all. Her father is the invincible planet devourer. If any civilization really dares to create the so-called Dark Forest, then she will take the initiative to propose that her father or the group of big iron lumps in the Celestial Group go to clean up that crazy civilization in a physical sense. Even if that civilization was really so powerful that it could evade the pursuit of Galactus and the Celestials, at most she could go through the back door and ask the real immortal Eternity to help. You can run, as long as you can't run away from this universe, and you can't escape the palm of Eternity. As for Sophan, it was indeed terrifying on that Earth, but in the Marvel universe, where immortals are everywhere, a Sophan can't make any waves. Tony remembered that he had seen a document about Ant-Man in the files of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ant-Man and the Wasp were from the same generation as his father in their universe. It is said that the Pym particles developed by Ant-Man Pym can shrink humans directly to the atomic level, but the price is that they can't change back. After he saw the information about the Pym particles, Tony was very sure that Sophan would definitely not make any waves in his universe. A division of suicide mechas shrunk to the size of atoms to carry out saturation suicide attacks on Sophan was only the most basic plan. Or let Wanda use chaos magic to distort the essence of Sophan. It really doesn't work. Don't we still Have a universe cheat, the Infinity Gauntlet? With a snap of the fingers, all beings are equal. Most of the others had similar thoughts, from being shocked by Zizzy at the beginning to now. That's it? That's it? You are Zizzy, and you are called Three-Body Civilization. Although only 3 or 4 live broadcasts have been broadcast, the eyes of the crowd have long been taken off by various magical powers. The video continues, and when Cheng Xin discussed with the experts at the hibernation base, they got a desperate news. Not to mention 1 ton, even 100 tons may not be enough. At the report meeting back to the headquarters, after the research results of all parties were summarized, people fell into deep depression again. Unlike last time, they had expectations for Wade. Wade looked around the audience and said, "I'm not God. I have no way. It's your job to solve such problems." So people turned their attention to the new hibernation technology experts. They were silent, not thinking, but with a kind of anger from professional dignity. These paranoids were asking for something that was impossible to do. Just then, Cheng Xin had another idea, but she was not sure about this idea because it was a little too shocking. Go forward. Go forward by any means necessary. Wade's words allowed her to express her own thoughts. Maybe we don't have to send a living person. Not sending a living person? Sending a dead person means sending a specimen to the Trisolans, right? That's not necessarily true. Seeing that the discussion had come to this point, and that he had become familiar with everyone, Hikaru said without hesitation, being alive is a very complex definition. There are many ways to understand whether a person is alive or not. In human biology, the definition of being alive is that the brain remains active. Then the question is, as long as the brain is preserved intact enough, who can guarantee that the Trisolarans have not used the brain to clone a complete body and revive the brain at the same time? Bruce said, this is a very unsolvable paradox. If you don't prove that something is feasible, then you can't prove that it is impossible. How dare you say that the Trisolarans can't resurrect the dead who were sent there? Hikaru continued, the success rate of the life solidification technology I developed depends on the state of the resurrected person. If it is a human being who is completely frozen, then the success rate of resurrection is at least 90%. If the body is well preserved, then the Trisolarans might really have the ability to resurrect him. The video continues. Quickly freeze the person to an ultra low temperature, below -200 degrees Celsius, and then launch. No life support or heating system is needed. Only a single person space capsule, which can be made very small and thin, plus the human body. The total mass should be about 110 kilograms. This person is definitely dead to humans. But what about the Trisolarans? People began to get busy in order to send a body to the Trisolarans. During this period, the United Nations held a general meeting and opened a meeting on the Wallfacer project. Have you heard? A Wallfacer was shot in the head as soon as he left the house. Vet didn't care about these. He just said a few words lightly and continued to busy himself. Soon, someone walked in with a document. Chapter 989. Only send brains. Commonlin, who was holding the documents, yelled and cursed in frustration. People landed on the moon half a century ago, but now they can't get anything out and can't do anything. After experiments, in order to reach the speed we expect, the overall mass of the aircraft is still ridiculously large. It needs to be reduced again to 1/10 of the current mass. 1/10. Remove the radiation sail. Remove the radiation sail. We only need half a kilogram. Like our angel said, as light as a feather. Half a kilogram? It's just an organ. Tony thought about it, combined with what they discussed before, and came up with an idea that was not only crazy but also inhumane. How much does an adult's brain weigh? 1,400 grams. I don't know if it's lucky or unfortunate, but it's more than half a kilogram. No. Strange shook his head and said, as long as some special treatment methods are used, they can keep the brain within half a kilogram, as long as they are willing. Take a person's brain out of his body, and then dry or freeze it to half its original weight, and finally put it into a small iron box, and send it to the dark space, letting it drift for hundreds of years, and finally fall into the hands of a group of aliens who are definitely enemies. Doom's scalp tingled when he thought of this. He thought he was strong and crazy enough. After losing his mother, he secretly practiced black magic. If he was discovered, he would even be burned to death. But compared with those humans who had no magical abilities and were not bewitched, the degree of his practice of black magic was very similar to that of a harmless newborn kitten who had not yet opened his eyes. Are these humans demons? Doom's understanding of technology is far less than his involvement in the field of magic. For him, the way he can understand is to take out the human brain and then smoke the poor man's brain into a piece of bacon, or put it in the snow and freeze it into cold frozen meat. Doom knew that those humans must have better ways to accomplish this, but no matter which one, he still felt terrified. But there was a hint of excitement in this horror. He felt his blood flow quickening, and when Vader said that sentence again, he also recited it: forward, 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 forward by any means necessary. Doom stared at Vader intently, and for the first time in his youth, he felt an attraction that made him want to follow. Do you know Pharaoh's snake, repeating crossbow, fire dragon out of water, and one who? Bruce recited several words in succession. They are all ancient people and ancient events to us, but their essence is the same. That is, combining backward technology in an advanced way, trying to produce capabilities that seem to be ahead of the times. And the ladder project is essentially the same. Fire dragon out of water and repeating crossbow failed to play the role of missiles and machine guns. Similarly, the ladder project is also difficult to bring mankind into a new era of space travel. Image continues, just send brains. Vader said the most crazy and cold words in the calmest tone, just send brains. At the meeting of the Planetary Defense Council, Cheng Xin witnessed the eloquence of the usually taciturn Vader. He said that, if the Trisolarans could revive a deep frozen human body, they would certainly be able to revive such a brain and communicate with it using some kind of external interface. For a civilization that could unfold protons into 2 dimensions and etch circuits on them, this would not be a very difficult task. And in a sense, a complete, functioning human brain is no different from a complete person, with this person's consciousness, this person's spirit, this person's memory, and especially, this person's strategy. If successful, this is still a bomb that enters the enemy's heart. And the biggest problem at present is that, before sending this brain away, they must kill that person. Are you worried that the human will rebel? This is indeed a big problem. There is no magic to control people's hearts in that world. I heard that some countries would train some loyal spies, and ancient kings would also train some dead soldiers who were willing to sacrifice something for their masters. Can these people be sent? Dumb posted his doubts and thoughts on the public screen. This was the first time he had said such a long paragraph in the live broadcast room. Captain America, I have a spy master here. She told me that there is absolutely no loyalty in the world of spies. Even trust does not exist. But as far as I know, there are indeed plans to completely brainwash people. Captain America, but those methods are anti-human. Natasha smoked a cigarette. She slowly exhaled a round of smoke rings and thought with a complicated look. Really loyal spies cannot be washed out. They are born only by attraction and faith. Thanos. This is why all of them are hesitating, anti-human. As for the kind of mind-controlling magic you mentioned, that world does have it, but it will take decades. But even if there is that kind of magic, they will not be able to use it. Doom, anti-human. Do you mean the rebellion caused by making this person lose his life? Why not use that kind of control magic? Is it because that kind of magic was born decades later? Or is there any hidden danger? Loki Odinson, there is no hidden danger. At least we don't know, and have never shown it. The power of that kind of magic can make a person firmly believe that water is poisonous. Doom, water, poisonous? That is a technological product called Mind Stamp, and it can really make people believe that water is poisonous. Peter didn't know how to tell Doom about the complicated human relationships. They also knew a little about Doom's life experience. He was a small Eastern European country with a semi-agricultural society and had never left his own country. The only source of knowledge was the books in school, and Doom had already read them all. For Doom, those complicated contents were incomprehensible. He was just a child. Don't think about it, let's look at your stars. Vadim patted Cheng Xin. Whether their plan would succeed or not was up to fate. Vadim was very open-minded. Even if the people on Earth were to become extinct in the end, that would be 400 years later. He didn't think he could live for 400 years. In that case, why bother about it? Isn't it good to look at the stars? Chapter 990, I Can Learn. Chengxin received the ownership certificate of DX3906 4 days ago. It was a huge surprise, which made her feel happy and dizzy. All day long, she kept saying to herself, someone gave me a star, someone gave me a star, I have a star. Even when she went to report to Wade, Chengxin was so happy that even Wade couldn't help asking her what happened. When Wade knew about it and saw the certificate, Wade made the following comment, a piece of waste paper. Wade sneered at this certificate and gave his advice, if you are wise, you should sell it at a lower price earlier, so you don't get nothing. Chengxin already knew Wade's character. He is just like this, but this does not affect Chengxin's mood. At the same time, Chengxi also told Vadim that unlike the cold working machine Wade, Vadim warmly congratulated her because she might be the first girl in human history to be given a star. On the 4th day, after receiving the stars, after they completed their plan to visit the missile launch, the cloudless night allowed them to see the light emitted by DX3906 with their naked eyes. Chengxin was intoxicated and looked at the dark red light for a long time, trying to imagine the unimaginable distance, trying to transform this distance into a graspable image. And Vadim was full of melancholy. Facing Chengxin's concerned inquiry, Vadim was silent for a long time before answering, I'm avoiding responsibility. What responsibility? I'm the most suitable candidate for the ladder project. After being surprised, Chengxin suddenly realized that Vadim was right. Vadim has a deep background in aerospace and at the same time has rich experience in diplomatic and intelligence work. He is mentally stable and mature. Even if he is selected from healthy people, he is the most suitable person. Because the ladder project can only send brains, that is, one person must be killed and then a dead person must be sent. So they promoted the euthanasia bill, and the brains sent away in the future will be selected from the euthanasia bill. But you are a healthy person. Yes, but I'm still avoiding it. Has anyone hinted anything to you? Chengxin thought of Wade, but what she got was Vadim's denial. No, but I'm still avoiding it. I got married 3 years ago, and my daughter is only a little over 1 year old. My wife and daughter are very important to me. I'm not afraid of death, but I really don't want them to see me like that, even worse than death. But you don't have this responsibility at all. Neither PIA nor your government has ordered you to undertake this mission, and there is no such order. Yes, I just want to tell you. After all, I'm the most suitable person. Vadim, human beings are not an abstract concept. Love for human beings starts from love for one person at a time. It is not wrong to take responsibility for the people you love first. It is absurd to blame yourself for this. Thank you for your comfort, Chengxin. Vadim looked up at Chengxin's stars. I really want to give them a planet. A beautiful and romantic story. So far, Strange seemed to be able to predict the next story. The next step is for Chengxin to persuade Yan Xianming, but the irony is that the star she got was given by Yan Xianming. What kind of person is Chengxin? Kind, or as cold and ruthless as Wade? This question silenced most people in the theater. Is Chengxin kind? Indeed. Chengxin paid attention to Yan Xianming at the beginning, greeted Yan Xianming when others ignored him, and invited Yan Xianming to participate in school activities. These things were not fake. At that time, the three-body crisis had not yet emerged, and Chengxin was just a student. How could she have planned to get close to Yan Xianming in advance for the ladder plan? Not to mention that Yan Xianming was still a normal person at that time, at least in terms of physical health. If Chengxin could really predict the subsequent story at that time and plan for it, then we would not call such people wise men, but wall hangers and wall breakers. Four-dimensional creatures are at least great prophets. Chengxin's kindness is all round, just as Wen said, she is kind to everyone, like the sun, bathing everyone who can accept it with her sunshine. Chengxin's initial feelings for Yan Xianming were good without any interest, and were good under the trend of kindness. So is Chengxin cold-blooded? Cold-blooded. Whether it is the ladder plan or just sending brains, such things are just like plans that can only be thought of by machines without emotions. The combination of kindness and cold-bloodedness makes people feel dizzy, just like seeing two pieces of completely opposite glaring colors, two objects of completely different styles being forcibly stitched together. The unbearable feeling of disgust. Loki Odinson, watch it, Yun Ming is about to go crazy. Loki Odinson, but, does this count as being betrayed by the person you love? Gandalf, not really, but it is reasonable for Yun Ming to go crazy. Chengxin didn't know that DX3906 was given by Yun Ming. Yun Ming only had 4 memories of chatting with Chengxin. Chengxin was good to everyone. She regarded Yun Ming as her classmate. The prerequisite for betrayal is based on a sense of belonging. Chengxin never felt a sense of belonging to Yun Ming. There was never a development beyond friendship between them. If the relationship between them is just a classmate, then there are too many betrayals on those planets as far as I know. Janitor, but it is reasonable for Yun Ming to go crazy. As a dying person, Yun Ming's heart is calm on the surface, but this is just an illusion before the storm. He maintains the last piece, just to make himself go decent. And Chengxin's words will detonate the heart that seems to be peaceful, but is actually already in a stormy situation, making Yun Ming completely crazy. Looking at Janitor's answer, the others were a little surprised. In their impression, although Janitor is indeed the daughter of Galactus, the devourer of planets, and her true strength is that of a single universe, she has always been a little girl who eats non-stop. I can learn. Exiting the calm analysis mode, Janitor lowered her head and said, my basic attributes are stronger than those of ordinary creatures, so I can learn things faster. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 991. To love humanity, we must understand the light and darkness of humanity. Of course, they could tell that Janitor was being modest. After all, Tony and Loki were the only ones with personalities like them. Janitor was more familiar with Peter and the River God, and her personality was somewhat influenced by them. She was not pushy, calm, and peaceful. However, as the daughter of Galactus, whose basic attribute was a single universe, it was easy for Janitor to learn all the technologies that humans had developed so far in one day, even if she started from scratch. For Janitor, these things were just a matter of whether she wanted to learn them or not whether she could learn them. For Arceus, there was no need to learn them at all. His question was whether he wanted to or not. Arceus, Janitor, what you said just now was from a higher perspective, not from the position you have always been in. Janitor, well, but looking at the problem from the perspective of God, my own thoughts would scare me. Without any emotions, absolutely rational thinking to analyze everything. This is the perspective of God, and it is the indispensable logic to maintain the operation of the universe. If the eternity of the universe itself has too many human emotions, and the human part defeats or even swallows up the divinity, it is not a good thing for the life of the universe, but a disaster. The video continues. Chengxin told Yun Ming everything. After Yun Ming let Chengxin go, he burst into hysterical laughter. Laughing at himself. When he saw Chengxin just now, he was so naive that he thought that, as long as he gave Chengxin a star, she would fall in love with him, and then fly across the ocean with holy tears to save him. This is really a beautiful fairy tale. If you want to find an antonym for fairy tales, maybe reality is a good choice. The reality is that Chengxin did come to find him specifically, and she came to let him die. The next simple inference made him laugh so hard that he suffocated. Judging from the time Chengxin arrived, she definitely didn't know that Yun Ming had chosen peace and happiness. In other words, if Yun Ming didn't choose peace and happiness, she would have made him happy after she came, tempted him, and even forced him to be happy. Peaceful? No, not peaceful. Yun Ming was keenly aware that Dr. Zhang, who had hinted at his peace before. I don't know why, whenever I see Dr. Zhang, I automatically think of the Black Doctor in The Simpsons, was actually his sister's classmate, and the hint was from his sister. Yun Ming didn't have any emotional fluctuations about this matter. He wouldn't live for more than a year. No matter how hard he tried, it would be useless. And his father spent too much money to save his family, which made his sister feel unbalanced. This is normal. He spent too much money, and his sister's son is almost old enough to get married and buy a house. And his sister really wanted him to be peaceful, but Chengxin, the way she gave him to die was not peaceful euthanasia. Close your eyes, and it's over. Everything is over. You don't have to face the torture of illness, and the family's financial situation will be better. But Chengxin wanted him to be the one who died the most miserably. Yan Xianming was afraid of space. Like everyone who studied aerospace, he knew better than others how dangerous space was. He knew that hell was not underground, but in the sky. And Chengxin wanted the part of him that carried his soul to wander forever in the endless, cold, dark abyss. This was still the best outcome. If his brain was really intercepted and resurrected by the Trisolarians, then the eternal cold, endless dark abyss would actually become a new paradise. At least, he would not suffer there. But if he was intercepted by the Trisolarians, he would be waiting for eternal torture. Even death was a hell of luxury. Death was not the most terrible thing. The most terrible thing was that life was worse than death. And what was more terrible than life was worse than death was that in life worse than death, you could not die. Yan Xianming laughed, and laughed so hard that he couldn't breathe. Chengxin pushed the door open and asked with concern, "Xianming, what's wrong with you?" Yan Xianming's laughter stopped abruptly, and he turned himself into a zombie. Yan Xianming, on behalf of the Strategic Intelligence Agency of the United Nations Planetary Defense Council, I ask you, are you willing to fulfill your responsibilities as a human citizen and accept this mission? This is completely voluntary, and you can refuse. The afterglow of the setting sun outside cast into the window and shone on Chengxin. At this moment, she became an angel, a holy and solemn angel. The angel looked forward to his return with eager anticipation, as if to say to him, "We are fighting for human civilization. We are defending the earth. Come on, join us." The setting sun stretched the angel's shadow very long, and the elongated afterimage projected on the white wall became distorted. The setting sun dyed the white wall red like blood, and the lonely oak tree outside was nothing more than a dry bone sticking out of a great bouquet. I accept. Is Yan Xianming crazy? Why would he agree? Is he afraid of being rejected and then being morally accused? Kanata began to look at the problem from another angle. No, that world should attach great importance to morality and humanity, and this situation should not happen. And the person responsible for finding Yan Xianming was Chengxin. I think if Yan Xianming flatly refused and insisted on euthanasia, Chengxin would not tell this matter. And this kind of thing is just an insignificant matter as small as the atomic level for the Earth that is busy dealing with the three-body crisis. Logan, that's different. I always feel that the people in that world are more or less abnormal. They are all human beings. How can they think so much? Loki Odinson, maybe it's not that they think too much, but that you think too little. But Yan Xianming must have gone crazy. Strange. If Yan Xianming were to take a psychological test, his score would be terrible. Ultraman Ace, will he take revenge on humans? Peter Parker, revenge on humans? Why? Peter Parker, because Chengxin approached him and asked him to participate in the ladder project? But this is just a suggestion. Yan Xianming can completely refuse it on his own. Ultraman Ace, Peter, Bruce once said, don't try to understand a madman unless you are also a madman. For a madman, how can you understand what he thinks? Brother Jack, do you think Yan Xianming will really choose to take revenge on humans? I'm just making a guess. After just beating the second generation King Saver's third, Go Hideki, who had just turned back into a human body, looked at Yan Xianming, who was laughing miserably on the screen, and closed his eyes. Chapter 992, I refuse. Are humans kind or evil? Jack's answer is both. Humans are a complex group, with both good and evil. If you want to truly understand and love humans, you must understand all aspects of humans. Human kindness, human evil, human light, and human darkness. Image continues. Vadim is dead, died in a car accident, the result of the autopsy, died of leukemia. This is not a replica of suicide, by being shot 8 times in the back. The reason why Vadim's car went out of control was because of sudden blindness caused by retinal hemorrhage caused by leukemia. The out-of-control car rushed out of the railing of the Hamilton Bridge and plunged into the Harlem River. It took a day to salvage it. Chengxin was extremely sad. Vadim cared for her like a brother and helped her adapt to work and life in a foreign country. What touched Chengxin most was his broad mind. Chengxin was very proactive at work and her intelligence was very eye-catching. Although it was out of a sense of responsibility, she would inevitably steal the limelight from Vadim everywhere, but he was very generous and always encouraged Chengxin to show her talents on a bigger and bigger stage. After the grief, Chengxin slowly realized that something was wrong. Vadim's death made most people in the department feel regretful and sad. They were all technicians like Chengxin. The spies in the intelligence department felt pity rather than regret. Vadim had been in the water for too long and his brain was no longer usable. A guess gradually climbed into Chengxin's mind. How could it be such a coincidence? The onset of leukemia can be caused by human beings. As long as the victim is in a radioactive environment, it may cause disease, but the radiation dose and time are difficult to control. If it is too low, it will not be able to cause disease in a short time, and if it is too high, it will cause death too quickly and be detected as radiation sickness instead of leukemia. If this is really a conspiracy, then the person who carried it out must be extremely professional. The rest, Chengxin did not dare to continue thinking. Then, Chengxin thought of Yan Xianming again. She had a dreaming of her star, but it collapsed, and after the collapse, it became a black hole. An object was imprisoned by the gravity of the black hole. It was a frozen brain that could never escape. Looking at the halo of light cast by the lights outside on the curtains, she comforted her conscience by saying words she didn't believe in herself. At the same time, she also knew for the first time that those people were talking about such words to sell them to Jai. The next day, Chengxin went to see Wade as soon as she got to work, hoping to withdraw her recommendation and remove number 5, Yan Xianming, from the list of candidates. Why? His test scores are among the best. When Chengxin came to find Wade, Wade was staring at the burning cigar in his hand. Chengxin rarely saw Wade doing the usual leadership work, such as making phone calls, reading documents, and attending meetings. Instead, he was thinking endlessly. Chengxin tried hard to find a reason. Now that the hibernation technology has been activated, Yan Xianming can live to the future with her help, to the age when he can be cured. He has too low education. Your education is very high, but your brain must be the worst one to complete this mission. He has a withdrawn personality. To be honest, I have never seen such a withdrawn person. He has no ability to integrate into the social environment around him. This is exactly the biggest advantage of number 5. The environment you are talking about is a human environment. People who integrate well into this environment also develop a sense of dependence on it. Once he is cut off from the human environment and placed in a completely alien environment, he may suffer a fatal mental breakdown. You are just an example of this. Chengxin knew that what Wade said made a lot of sense. She would never pass the test anyway, let alone really be in an alien environment. But she still wanted to go all out and slander the person she wanted to help. The most important thing is, he has been isolated from the crowd for a long time, has no sense of responsibility for humans, let alone love. After saying this, Chengxin herself doubted whether this was true. Wade was still staring at the cigar. There is something on Earth that he is nostalgic for. Chengxin felt his gaze reflected from the head of the cigar to her, carrying the heat of that small ball of dark fire. Fortunately, Wade did not go deeper into this topic, but the following words made Wade appreciate the show he liked to watch: Chengxin's despair and pain. In fact, according to the proper standards, all the candidates are far worse, but there is no way. You have made me more confident in number 5. Thank you. Wade means that what Yan Xianming is nostalgic for is still Chengxin. Why? How did Wade come to this conclusion? Don't worry, keep watching. The video continues. Chengxin held a ceremony for the candidates participating in the ladder project, a ceremony to swear allegiance to humanity. It was Yan Xianming's turn to take the oath. Chengxin watched Yan Xianming step forward, then nervously closed her eyes. I don't swear. I feel like an outsider in this world. I haven't had much joy and happiness, nor have I received much love. Of course, this is all my fault. But I don't swear. I don't recognize my responsibility to humanity. When Yun Xianming said this, his eyes were slightly closed, his tone was soothing, and most importantly, he was extremely calm. When faced with a question from UN Secretary General Say about why he agreed to undertake the mission of the Ladder Project, Yun Xianming's answer was, "I want to see another world. As for whether I will be loyal to humanity, it depends on what the three-body civilization looks like when I see it. Yun Xianming won't be selected. He said so himself." Thanos. No, janitor, you don't understand. This is the key to why Yun Xianming was chosen. You haven't seen the Dark Forest, so you don't understand. Logan, does the Trisolarans have the ability to produce Riddler? Eric, I understand. At this time, the Trisolarans have just sent out Sophan, or the Sophan has not arrived yet, but the Trisolarans cannot see through the human mind. The Trisolarans don't have Charles, Captain America, so the deception begins now. Tony Stark, yes. Logan, wait. I seem to have some clues. Deception. Janitor was confused. She found that compared with this group of people, she was still the little girl. Janitor, the Trisolarans can't see through the human mind. This is the only advantage humans have over the Trisolarans. Peter explained, this also means that the Trisolarans have no concept of lies. The case has been solved, brothers. The radio and television we feed can't keep up with the version of the writer's assistant. We have to update the version. Chapter 993. If you can't be sure, how can you deny it? Janitor, you must remember what they said before. Peter is a good man. He is the kind of person who would hold an umbrella for others instead of stealing others' umbrellas, because he has been caught in the rain. He was in the embarrassing situation of not being able to get a word in during the three-body Dark Forest. Strange, Constantine and others were talking about magic that they had not yet come into contact with. Hikaru, Bruce and Tony were talking about technology that they could not understand at the time, and Eric, who was still Magneto at the time, was promoting the idea that mutants were the best in the world. So seeing the same situation, and Janitor who was also confused by the story of the three-body, Peter decided to do his best to help her solve the puzzle. All they have to do is put the brain into the aircraft, then launch the aircraft, and finally speed it up to 1% of the speed of light. The rest can only be left to fate, and watch the Trisolarians. Watch the Trisolarians? Although Janitor didn't understand the twists and turns here, she had a good memory, and photographic memory was just the most basic requirement. It's not a problem to say that the aircraft that was sent away was a coffin. It's just a matter of finding a coffin that can fly in the universe at 1% of the speed of light. Peter explained to Janitor carefully, so whether the lurking plan can succeed or not, humans only provide a basic template, and what's more important is the Trisolarans. Humans and Trisolarans have always communicated through intelligent sons, and have never met in person. For Trisolarans, the cells of an Earthling can be important research materials, because before that they could only study humans through data on Earth. So when humans launch the probe, the rest depends on whether the Trisolarans are willing to capture the probe and the brain in the probe. And that person may be the only one who can communicate directly with the Trisolarans. If they are absolutely loyal to humans, then the Trisolarans will not necessarily communicate with the humans in the probe, even if they capture the probe. But if the other party is Yun Xianming, who directly stated whether he is loyal to humans, it depends on the attitude of the Trisolarans. Then, the Trisolarans will choose to communicate with him. A living Earthling who is willing to communicate with the Trisolarans is more useful to the Trisolarans. I understand. Janitor quickly figured out most of the content, but how can the Earthlings guarantee that Yun Xianming will not defect to the Trisolarans? Since the Earthlings cannot be sure of Yun Xianming's loyalty, can the Trisolarans? Combining the information of the Trisolarans, Janitor quickly came to a conclusion. No. That's right, it's like Scrooge's cat. Only Yun Xianming, maybe even Yun Xianming, doesn't know whether he will betray humans. Only this kind of person can have the probability of becoming a chess piece to infiltrate the enemy. In the Avengers building, Black Widow Natasha took a puff of cigarette, and the smoke rings and words slowly floated out. A steadfast and absolutely loyal human loyalist is not suitable for this. They are more suitable to go to the quantum ghost fleet of the first wall facer. Because there is a possibility and reason for defection. There is a possibility of being accepted. Yan Xianming's life in human society cannot be considered good, and he was even betrayed by Chengxin. These are potential factors for his defection. If the Trisolarant Society can really give Yan Xianming enough of what he needs, then Yan Xianming may join them. Because of the existence of Zizi, this oath-taking ceremony is equivalent to a full live broadcast of the Trisolarans. Those people in front, especially the old man who came here in a wheelchair, got out of the wheelchair and walked up to take the oath by himself. There is no way he would be selected. This is a two-way transparent spy plan. It is also an unprecedented spy plan in the history of espionage in that world. It is probably the first new dispatching method, since Daying pioneered the modern spy system and Circoming divided the Daying intelligence system into 5 and 6 departments. Spies are dispatched with the knowledge of both parties, and even the spy's travel expenses are only half. The remaining half, which is related to whether the spy can arrive at the destination, has to be paid by the lurking party. This is a scene worthy of being recorded in the history of espionage in that world. Why did they do this? Ganata raised a new question. Isn't this sending a human specimen to the Trisolarans? Only uncooperative people can be called specimens. Before LUOG established the Dark Forest deterrence system, the Trisolarans had never looked at the humans on Earth and called them bugs. Peter looked at the screen and said, as long as Yan Xianming can make contact with the Trisolarans, then this mission will be half successful. If Yan Xianming can have even the slightest impact on Trisolaran society, then it will be a great success. The video continues. Yan Xianming passed the final test. Wade turned around from the front seat and looked at Chengxin. This time he could appreciate pure despair and pain. This is his quality. Yan Xianming was elected as the mission executor of the ladder project. The final moment finally came. Chengxin was notified that Yan Xianming's condition had deteriorated sharply and he needed to undergo a brain resection. The operation was performed in the neurosurgery department of the Westchett Medical Center. Looking at Chengxin standing outside the hospital, wanting to go in but not daring to, wanting to leave but not having the heart to, and having to stay there and chewing on her own pain, Wade, who came with her, walked up to her, admired her pain, and left the most fatal blow with satisfaction. Oh, there's another surprise. The star you got was given by him. The ultimate move, no solution. Chengxin rushed into the hospital. When she arrived at the operating room, the body had been pushed out of another door. Everything was over. Yan Xianming's brain was taken out and placed in an ultra-low temperature container. Child, think about it. If the brain is resurrected, what is the most ideal container to hold it? Of course it is the body to which the brain originally belonged. Every cell in the brain carries all the genetic information of this body. It is entirely possible for them to clone the body and transplant the brain. In this way, he will be a complete him again. Chengxin looked at the container. The one who comforted him was the authority of neurosurgery at Harvard Medical School, the surgeon who performed the brain removal operation. Facing the comfort of this white-haired old man, Chengxin asked a question that surprised everyone present. Then, what does he eat? Chapter 994, The Three-Body Problem. The next day, Chengxin came to Wade's office. She looked as haggard as those terminally ill candidates and put an envelope in front of Wade. I request to take these seeds in the spacecraft. Wade poured out the contents of the envelope. There were more than a dozen small plastic bags. He looked at them one by one with great interest. Wheat, corn, potatoes. These are a few vegetables. This, peppers? Chengxin nodded and said, I remember he likes to eat them. Wade put all the small bags back into the envelope and pushed it to Chengxin. No. As expected. Why? This mass is only 18 grams. We need to work hard to reduce the mass by 0.18 grams. Just think of his brain as weighing 18 grams. The problem is that he doesn't weigh that 18 grams. Adding this mass means a reduction in the final speed, and the rendezvous with the enemy fleet may be many years later. Wade began to show his cold smile. It's just a brain, without a mouth and no stomach. What's the use of these? Don't believe in the myth of cloning. They will keep the brain alive in a suitable incubator. Chengxin really wanted to snatch the cigar from Wade's hand and throw it in his face, but she restrained herself, left a sentence saying that I would resign, and turned away. The ladder project needs someone who is familiar with Yan Xianming to go to the future. Chengxin stopped. But it must be someone from PR. Are you willing to go? Okay, you can hand in your resignation now. Nailed point JPG. I agree to go to the future. That's nailed. Wade is going to use Chengxin to control Yan Xianming. If the time is pushed back a few decades, maybe the thought stamp will be used directly. No, it won't work. It's impossible to escape the surveillance of the Trisolaran intelligentsia by using the thought stamp. By then, the Trisolarans will definitely not trust Yan Xianming, and the plan will fail from the beginning. Wait, isn't that a water drop? That's Ding Yi. The video continues. Ding Yi picked up an alloy hammer and swung it hard at the water drop. There was no trace on the surface of the water drop, not even a trace of damage. Using the instrument to survey again, even if it was adjusted to the maximum, the surface of the water drop was still as smooth as new, without the slightest trace of damage. The surface of a neutron star is also smooth like this. Sweat was dripping down Ding Yi's forehead. But its mass is normal. This is 2000 bangs? How could the audience who had seen Dark Forest forget such a classic scene, where more than 2000 warships of mankind were almost wiped out by a probe of the Trisolarans? Seeing this, Peter also began to explain to the newcomer. Peter Parker, the water droplet, that is, the object, is the probe of the Trisolarans. The entire body of the probe is made of strong interaction material, and its own molecules are completely nailed, and the vibration disappears. In simple terms, there is no material on the earth of that world that can destroy the water droplet. Peter Parker. Next, the Trisolarans controlled the water droplet and destroyed the entire human fleet, with only a few warships escaping. Strange, yes, among them, there are 2 warships that entered the deep sea mode in advance because of Ding Yi's reminder and can move forward 4 times. Strange, the other one is the 5 warships led by Zhang Bihei. Just as the group was about to explain what forward 4 was, the picture on the screen changed again. 3-body. The Legend of the North Sea on air in the 3rd year of the Crisis Era. The 3-body fleet is 4.21 light years away from the solar system North Sea. North Sea. A man in military uniform walked up to Zhang Bihei and asked, "What are you thinking about? So obsessed?" "Ah, sorry. Are you thinking about our way out?" "Yes," you said. "If these aliens come, what will our navy be like in the future?" "I don't know." Zhang Bihei answered truthfully. "When I was a child, I liked the sea very much. At that time, I thought that the strongest enemy was just across the sea. But I didn't expect that they would come from the sky in the end. Anyway, I have dedicated my life to the sea, and you have become the captain of an aircraft carrier as you wished." Another man in military uniform sighed and said, "Who knows, given the current situation, alas." Just then, someone found the 2. Captain Wu, Zhang ZW. I don't dare to type those 2 words. Take it easy, the meeting time is coming soon. At the meeting, the following things were mainly discussed. First, the Trisolaran intelligent beings have arrived on Earth. Second, there is an anti-human group called the Earth Trisolaran Organization within the Earthlings. Third, the Asian Space Force branch has been established. Afterwards, the Wallfacer project was launched, and then Ito also launched the Wallbreaker project. Afterwards, Zhang Bihei went to see his father. "Dad, I will be transferred to Jiaquan tomorrow. Just as you and the predecessors discussed, they are going to form a space force, based on the Navy." The father nodded and said nothing. The silence between them conveys more information than language. From childhood to adulthood, his father educated him with silence rather than language. Language is just a punctuation mark of silence. It is this father's silence that has made Zhang Bihei what he is today. Just as you thought, they want to form a space fleet, based on the Navy. They believe that the Navy's combat mode and theory are closest to space warfare. That's right. Zhang Bihei talked about the Wallfacer project, the Trisolarians and Sophons, and even the Sophons around them. Zhang Bihei's father told him to be careful with his words in the future, and even now he might. What should I do? After saying this, Zhang Bihei fell into extreme panic and confusion. Dad, I finally asked this question. I didn't sleep all night before I finally made up my mind to ask this question. I hesitated again when I saw you just now. I know this is the sentence that disappoints you the most. I remember when I entered the fleet as a captain trainee after graduating from graduate school, you said, "Hey, you are still far away." I say that because I can still easily understand you now. The fact that you can make me understand you shows that your thoughts are still simple and not deep enough. When I can't see through you and can't understand you, but you can easily understand me, you will be considered to have truly grown up. Later, I grew up as you said, and you could no longer understand your son so easily. I don't believe that you didn't feel sad about this. But your son is indeed becoming the kind of person you can place your hopes on. The kind of person who is not cute, but has the potential to succeed in the complex and difficult field of the Navy. Now, my son asked this question, which undoubtedly means that your cultivation of me for more than 30 years has failed at the most critical moment. But Dad, you still have to tell me, my son is not as strong as you think. Anyway, this is just this time. Please tell me. Father said, think more. Okay, Dad, you have answered me and said a lot of things, really a lot. The content of these 3 words cannot be fully expressed in 30,000 words. Please believe me, son. I heard these words with my heart, but I beg you to explain them more clearly, because this is too important. Okay, Dad, what should I do? After thinking about it? Chapter 995, The Fifth Wall Faces Zhang. Dad, forgive me. If I'll let you down the last time, I'm going to be a kid again this time. Hey, I can only tell you that you should think more before that. The father answered. Dad, thank you. You said it very clearly. My heart understands it. I know. Zhang Bihei puts on his navy cap and leaves. The last scene stays on the medal on Zhang Bihei's navy cap. Question. What does Zhang Bihei's father mean by thinking more? This question is a free answer mode, and there is only one chance to answer. The projection room projects the complex activities of Zhang Bihei's confusion in the form of text, but it still leaves the audience confused. Logan, the only thing we can be sure of is that, if Sophan and the Trisolarians are here, they will definitely not understand anything. Logan, we don't understand, let alone them. Strange. What if we stand in a position where we already know the result and go back to watch it? Bruce Wayne, in the Dark Forest, the fleet Zhang Bihei was in defected and took away 4 fleets. To humans at the time, it was a defection, but to the entire human civilization, it was the continuation of the last spark. Because if LUOG couldn't come up with the Dark Forest law to threaten the Trisorans, humanity would be extinct. Bruce Wayne, so, if you say that Zhang Bihei's father had no influence on him, that is absolutely impossible. In other words, his father definitely played a big role in Zhang Bihei's final actions. Bruce separated and read every word in Zhang Bihei's father's words, and combined them. He found the blind spot. Before that, think more. Before that, think more. Bruce's eyes lit up. Before that, what was it? We know that the final fate of 2,000 human warships was to be destroyed by water droplets, and only a very small number of human warships escaped. If we start from this basis, then this before that refers to before the human warships were destroyed by water droplets. Janitor was stunned. She asked in disbelief, does this old man have the ability to predict the future? Can he predict what will happen 400 years later? No, Janitor. Peter pointed out the loophole in Janitor's thinking. Zhang Bihei's father does not have that ability. He knows nothing about the Trisolarans. The before that he mentioned refers to before failure. It refers to before the failure of mankind's war against the Trisolarans. Combined with Zhang Bihei's final behavior of leading the spaceship to escape, Zhang Bihei's father predicted that this was a losing war, so he let Zhang Bihei prepare for escape in advance. Facts have proved that this move saved many humans. Peter Parker, so, think more. Actually let Zhang Bihei think about the retreat in case of failure. Image continues. Wu Yu and Zhang Bihei once again watched the Tang under construction, and 10,000 meters above, a plane flew over the strait. On the plane was a man named Luog. You have been in a low mood since you joined the Space Force. Wu Yu. You should know the reason. Wu Yu's tone was so calm. He said this sentence with an affirmative tone. He knew. Zhang Bihei must know. Zhang Bihei turned and looked directly at Wu Yu. You are so sad. You think we will definitely lose this war. Anything you want to advise me? No. The theory of technological victory is deeply rooted in your mind. I just want to try my best to reduce the damage of this idea. In addition, I don't think it is impossible for mankind to win this war. Bihei, you used to be a very realistic person. You opposed the construction of aircraft carriers many times. You thought that our situation and strength were inconsistent with the strategy of the ocean-going navy. But now, where does your belief in winning this interstellar war come from? In human history, wars where the weak defeated the strong are everywhere. Human beings do not need universal military theories. One exception is enough. Do you really think a small wooden boat can sink an aircraft carrier? In the early days of the founding of the People's Republic of China, cross out this paragraph. Even earlier, our army also had an example of cavalry defeating a group of tanks. I want to hear it. Wu Yu smiled sarcastically. How did you achieve this exception? I don't understand space warfare, but there will always be a way for Thor. 400 years later, we must still have the courage to act and the confidence to win. Sometimes you are still very imaginative. No, I have the confidence to win. Do you know the original intention of the United Nations? To propose the three-body plan? Because the three-body people cannot see through the human mind, humans still have the hope of winning through tactics. Thoughts are the most ruthless, and the belief in victory is a crucial part of it. If there were no previous thoughts, and if there was no experience of Zhang Bihei escaping with humans in the dark forest, then the audience would only think that this was a naval officer who was full of confidence in the war between humans and the three-body people. After having a high-level perspective, they were shocked to find that from this moment on, Zhang Bihei began to deceive. This is deception. This is what Zhang Bihei's father told him. He should think more. The Trisolarians cannot see through human thinking. From this moment on, Zhang Bihei began to prepare to deceive the Trisolarians, and he succeeded. He finally succeeded in preserving the seeds for mankind in the flame of inheritance. Zhang Bihei can be called the fifth wall facer. Image continues. In the next meeting, Zhang Bihei proposed that Wu Yu was no longer suitable for working in the army, and Wu Yu himself admitted this. And in the end, Zhang Bihei proposed his plan. Reinforce the future. This is also part of Zhang Bihei's plan. Looking at Zhang Bihei on the screen, the audience in the live broadcast room also felt their blood boiling because of his actions. This man actually fulfilled the duties of a wall facer with his own strength. Reinforce the future. Zhang Bihei first proposed to eliminate those with defeatist ideas to ensure that he would be a successist, a human triumphist, and even used his good friend and old comrade as a stepping stone. Then, after establishing his own persona, once the plan he proposed to reinforce the future was successfully implemented, he would most likely be able to blend in and finally complete his vision. In fact, he succeeded. He completed his plan. From beginning to end, no one noticed it in advance. Chapter 996. Reinforce the future. This is indeed reinforcement for the future. And it is a successful reinforcement. Reinforcement that saved the fire of mankind. Image continues. After that day, people came to the fleet to investigate. One of them is a wall facer, and the other is also a wall facer. One is Taylor, who came to Zhang Bihei to ask about the fleet's beliefs, and the other is the wall facer Heinz. I've always heard that your army's ideological and political work is very solid. This time I came to you for advice. We will provide all the help we can. Heinz nodded and told his plan. My plan is to improve human intelligence. What I do now is no different from a university professor, so just treat me as an ordinary professor. Don't be polite. Maybe we can say that this is part of the plan. Wait a minute. Heinz's plan is to stamp the thought and then run away quickly. Peter suddenly realized something, and Zhang Bihei also thought so. That is to say, this is a meeting between two defeatists disguised as triumphalists, an epic middle door sniper. After hearing Peter's words, everyone thought of this funny side, and wanted to laugh, but also felt helpless. Facts have proved that in addition to Luog, who was enlightened by Yuan Hao, the one who really succeeded in the plan was Zhang Bihei, the fifth wall facer. And Heinz was the wall facer with the best ending. Teller and Rei Diaz committed suicide, and the other died at the hands of their own people. Although Luog didn't die, his next days were not comfortable. Only Hein's ending was okay. Image continues. Old company commander. Shi Qiang rushed in. Big Shi, this is a top secret meeting. Luog said this was part of the plan, and he asked me to come. Shi Qiang said this trick was tried and tested. Then you should have asked the others for instructions first. Even after asking for instructions, doesn't it still take you for approval? Then you should at least tell me in advance. Didn't you see we were in a meeting with the wall facer? How do I know this wall facer is so evil? Dashi chuckled. Do you know what my plan is? Oh. He drew a dream lover for us to find. At this stage, Luog is about to meet Zuan Yan, right? Yes, and then they lived a peaceful and happy life for 5 years, and had a child, a little girl. Speaking of this, Dashi was the first to laugh, and the others laughed too. Heinz also commented, this does sound like a wall facer plan. That's right. He hasn't done anything except reading, drinking, and fishing recently. The United Nations paid for the wine and the house before. Now he wants to find an Oriental girl. We have to do this job ourselves. Hey, you talk to the wall facer first. I'll go and arrange this with Dashi. Mr. Heinz, I'm very sorry. Then, Dashi's old captain pushed Dashi out, and he didn't forget to close the door when he left. Heinz looked at the two people who left, and suddenly said, Mr. Zhang, the night is just like the wall facer. I don't want to take the responsibility of the wall facer. I understand that it is a difficult thing, to be responsible for the future of all mankind. Yes, I have been suffering from insomnia recently. You know, their technological level is crushing us. No matter how you think about it, this is a losing situation. Zhang Bihei frowned, and found that things were not simple. Do you think mankind will lose? It's not that I think so personally, but everyone thinks so now. And this will bring considerable ideological obstacles to long-term strategic deployment. Zhang Bihei vaguely felt that the wall facer in front of him was acting, but he would definitely not say it, because he was also acting. Soften and the Trisolarians who were watching at this time. 6. Do you want to do ideological work for all the people in the world? It is like this. Human intelligence includes many dimensions. Chivalry, perseverance, and faith are also important factors of intelligence. Without these, humans cannot win. Soften. Data is being transmitted to decipher information. Deciphering failed. To improve the intelligence of all mankind will consume a considerable amount of resources. Yes, that's exactly why I want to ask you. Heinz slowly leaned out half of his body. How do you manage to be so firm in your thinking? Do you have a plan to win? These two people have been acting the whole time, and why do I feel that they are on the same page? Both of them are defeatists disguised as firm believers in the belief that mankind must win, and one of them really succeeded, and the other almost succeeded. You know, if it weren't for his wife, his own wall facer who had 8 more years of thinking time than him, the outcome would have been completely different. Even the Trisolaran sophists didn't discover what Heinz had done in the thought stamping machine. A positive and negative sign makes a world of difference to the result. You misunderstood. I don't have a plan to win at the moment, but I have faith in victory. Oh, why do you say that? Although it is difficult for the weak to defeat the strong, history has proved that it is not impossible. Maybe your analytical computer will have a huge impact on the future, and even the Space Force. Hein's eyes slightly opened, and his facial expression returned to normal. But he had understood Zhang Bihei's implication. He was hinting that he would use his opportunity to make a fuss about the future Space Force. Ha 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 ha, thank you. You're welcome. Now, we are comrades. The two thought. After looking at each other for a few seconds, they smiled at each other, shook hands and separated, leaving only Zizi who numbly recorded this scene. I hope we will have a chance to meet again in the future. A group of spectators were numbed by the scalp. If there was no God's perspective, they would definitely see nothing. Who would have thought that such a large amount of information was hidden in just a few words? Not everyone has the powerful basic attributes of Arceus, who can use quantity to make up for the lack of quality. Arceus can evolve almost all timelines in a thought and select the most likely possibility from them, but this behavior is obviously not suitable for everyone. Chapter 997. Zhang Bihei. Then I'll go talk to Leo Hangshan. Video continues. Do you hate me for what happened yesterday? Zhang Bihei made an appointment with Wu Yu on the boat. No, what about that? Wu Yu shook his head. For me, this is a relief. I have applied for retirement, just like it. Wu Yu pointed to the Tang dynasty where they were. Number. Relief, right? Yes, I'm a captain born with technology. I have always been very aware of the role of technology in war. The huge technological gap between us and the Trisolaran civilization has destined us to fight again. It's a war with no chance of victory. Compared with soldiers 400 years ago, I don't even have the chance to die in battle and die for my country. Forget it. Anyway, I have retired. Looking at his friend's retreating figure, Zhang Bihei thought in his heart, in fact, everyone has to retire one day, and maybe human civilization will do the same. But the future will always come. The death of Wildface Atala caused an uproar, and Hines and Ray Diaz decisively chose to hibernate. Ding Yi and Zhang Bihei are on the same spacecraft. As an important member of the Space Force, Zhang Bihei is also an important member of the future reinforcement. It is necessary to understand space in advance. No amount of paper information is as good as going to space to experience it in person. So Ding Yi, a scientific researcher, became Zhang Bihei's commentator. But as a modern soldier, you are quite concerned about the future battlefield. There is a hint of numb frivolity in Ding Yi's words. He has realized the huge technological gap between humans and Trisorans, and the development of human science and technology has been blocked by Sophan again. Now Ding Yi does not have even a little confidence in victory in the future battle 400 years later. Whether it is now, or in the future, to win a war, belief in victory is essential. Only by adapting to the combat environment in advance, can we gain this kind of belief. Ding Yi smiled disdainfully. He said calmly, you have gone to space to find confidence. Give up. You can't find it. In order to break through the blockade of Sophans, I have gone to space to see it countless times. I hosted the meeting in space. High energy physics projects try to capture high energy particles in their natural state, to avoid the interference of Sophans. But, alas, the results are the same even in space. The interference of Sophans still exists, and the detectors are all useless. Trisolarans. Our technology has been completely locked up. At this moment, the system in the spacecraft sounded. Ding Yi took a deep breath and said silently, the second stage is coming. Just hold on for a few dozen seconds, and it will be fine. Ding Yi was tortured to a sudden acceleration to 6 grams. He is seasick. Stunned spaceship. On the contrary, Zhang Bihei, who was in space for the first time, was in good condition. Ding Yi fainted on the spacecraft. How many times did he fly? Judging from Ding Yi's obviously numb tone and violent reaction, Ding Yi not only fainted on the spacecraft, but also suffered from severe dizziness. But in this situation next, Ding Yi forced herself to feel numb. One can only imagine how many times Ding Yi had been in space before this. Aren't you looking for confidence? It's just outside, look. Ding Yi points outside, where an artificial satellite is drifting alone in the universe. That is the detector used to capture high energy particles. It is now scrap iron. Ding Yi's attention was not on the high energy particle detector, which he called scrap iron, but on what he saw. On the Earth countless times. The Earth is beautiful, isn't it? It's a pity that such a beautiful planet is about to be taken away by humans, just when we can see its full picture. Don't be so pessimistic. Human beings are always going to the universe. We should develop space technology as much as possible, so that we can at least have more hope in breaking through the Trisolaran blockade. Do you still remember the flowers I received at the base? Ding Yi suddenly asked. Remember. If it is driven by the heat of nuclear fusion, we have broken through the key technology of the engine required for interstellar flight, controllable nuclear fusion. So fast? Yes, it's just that we haven't had time to announce it yet. Driving, Political Commissar Zhang, as usual, we have to take a group photo every time we work in space. You two should also prepare. Anyway, take it. The focus of subsequent research will also shift to the actual design of the fusion engine, which means there are 2 ways to go in the future. One is to use radiation propulsion to drive the spacecraft, which is not even a prototype yet. The other type is a propellant rocket powered by nuclear fuel. In fact, it is not fundamentally different from the current chemical rocket, but the latter is safer in terms of research prospects and will be the focus of future resource investment. As far as I'm concerned, the so-called insurance is the least safe in future interstellar wars. If our spacecraft can only rely on planetary bases in the end, then the tragedy from 1894 to 1895 will repeat itself. And the solar system, just WHW, your metaphor is very profound. As a naval political commissar, how could Zhang Bihei not know what the naval battle from 1894 to 1895 was referring to? Zhang Bihei said seriously, I hope you can postpone this. Time for the news to be announced. I'm afraid not. No matter what the purpose is, humanity needs us to announce this progress. For the current humanity, hope is even too precious. But this step, if we make the wrong move, we may waste a century or two. Then we will change. It's useless for you to tell me this. You have to talk to those old aerospace experts. The times are changing. Old contradictions leave and new ones appear. One of the biggest disputes in the Space Force is the academic dispute between the two systems of traditional chemical fuel and radiation spacecraft. The two forces have reached a balance, and those who have the power to break the balance are the 3 or 4 people in key positions. Their opinions determine the final planning plan. Really, there are only 3 or 4 people, but it's a pity that they are all old aerospace experts. Ding Yi in front of Zhang Bihale said with a sigh. Traditional chemical structured rockets cannot go far in the long run, but most of the powerful people in the current aerospace system are from chemical rocketry, and they are strongly opposed to radiation spacecraft, because it is completely different from their lifelong efforts. If the radiation ship really takes over, it will be a fatal blow to them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 998. If we can't solve the problem, let's solve the person. Actually, if you really want to say that I'm a theoretical physicist, so how the rocket is designed doesn't really matter to me. As for me, Ding Yi looked at Zhang Bihei, who was silent with his head down, and looked at Zhang Bihei's hands. When Zhang Bihei's eyes met Ding Yi's again, Ding Yi's originally numb eyes suddenly showed something more. Ding Yi continued to talk, and Zhang Bihei still listened silently. But whether it was the person who was talking, or the person who was talking, their minds were no longer here. Bihei, they looked at each other with murderous intent. Ding Yi, comrade, turned out to be me. Ding Yi continued to talk about his future plans without changing his expression or heartbeat. Next, I will struggle in the field of cutting-edge physics to see if there are any high-energy particles in the cosmic rays that the Sophan forgot to interfere with. If there is still no breakthrough, I might as well go into hibernation and then go to the future. After Ding Yi finished speaking, he floated over to take a photo. But humans finally chose the radiation spacecraft. Peter said, the human interstellar warship that can travel 40% of the speed of light obviously does not use chemical fuel. But if this matter is related to Zhang Bihei, then how can he, a soldier, persuade a scientist? Ideological work. Peter felt that this possibility was not great. Although he was not a scientist, he usually liked to do some small inventions and research. For example, he got a lot of inspiration from Stark's mecha drawings and Zhang Parker's spider robot. He knocked out a Spider Robot 1.0 version with his bare hands in the basement. Although it was very simple, it only had some basic functions such as running and jumping and spraying spider silk liquid from other Spider-Men to assist Gwen in fighting, but both Gwen and Peter liked it very much. And if someone said bad things about the Spider Robot, Peter would definitely not be happy. Putting himself in their shoes, Peter didn't think that the old aerospace who had studied chemical fuels all his life would be easily persuaded. Loki Odinson, silly boy, this is not simple. If you can't solve the problem, just solve the person who raised the problem, right? Didn't you see that Zhang Bihei's eyes at the end clearly had a hint of murderous intent? Thanos, I agree with Loki's statement. This is not a rant, nor is it an act of revenge out of impotence and fury, but a real and effective plan. Rather than wasting time and effort, to convince a group of stubborn people and gamble on the fate of the entire human future. It is better to just shoot and end it. Thanos. In the continuation of the entire race, the interests of the individual are insignificant. Peter Parker, but it is wrong to sacrifice a few people for the sake of the majority. If it were you, would you be willing to be sacrificed? Thanos. That depends on whether my sacrifice is worth it. If it is worth it, I can take the initiative to die. Peter had nothing to say. On the point of sacrifice and righteousness, they had never argued with Thanos. The video continues. In the courtyard extending out of the alley, there was a behe who came to buy a meteorite. This is the home of Meteorite Collector. This dimly lit old house looks like a small geological museum. Glass cabinets are placed on all 4 walls, and professional lights shine on the unremarkable stones. The owner is looking at a small stone carefully with a magnifying glass on a workbench. When he sees the visitor, he greets him warmly. This man is over 50 years old, with a good complexion and spirit. Zhang Bihei can tell at a glance that he is one of those lucky people who has his own beloved little world and can immerse himself in it and enjoy himself, no matter how the big world changes. In the old atmosphere unique to the old house, Zhang Bihei realized that, while he and his comrades were fighting for the survival of mankind, most people were still obsessed with their own inherent lives, which made him feel warm and at ease. Bihei, is your meteorite authentic? Collector, Hazyuxiu, what are you talking about? I'm a professional meteorite collector for 40 years. Can I sell you a stone egg? You are a soldier, right? The collector said while serving tea. After getting the other party's affirmative nod, he said, today's soldiers don't look like soldiers anymore, but you and I can tell at a glance. You used to be a soldier, too. Both of them stated the other's identity in an affirmative tone. Maybe they are both in plain clothes now, but the temperament in their bones cannot be hidden, especially when both of them have that temperament. Yes, I have served in the General Staff Mapping Bureau for most of my life. Then how did you come to sell meteorites? More than 10 years ago, I followed the expedition team across the Antarctic continent. My mission was to find meteorites under the snow, and then I became fascinated with this thing. They come from outside the mortal world, from the distant space. Of course, they are very fascinating. Every time I get a meteorite, it's like going to a new alien world. Zhang Bihei smiled and shook his head. This is just your feeling. The Earth was formed by the convergence of interstellar matter, so the Earth is a big meteorite. The stones under our feet are all meteorites, and the teacup in my hand is also a meteorite. Moreover, it is said that the water on Earth was brought by comets, so this teacup also contains meteorites. These things of yours should not be rare. Smart, you've already started bargaining. Tell me, what kind do you want? It doesn't need to be very expensive, but it has to be heavy, not easy to break, and easy to process. Peter was a little confused about what Zhang Bihei was going to do. He knew something about meteorites, but not much. That was in the Avengers world. Because old man Odin almost cracked the moon with one shot, a group of human politicians cried and begged for help. Finally, they found Peter in Kamatage. The kind-hearted Peter worked for free to repair the moon. The most used raw materials are various asteroids retrieved from the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Although this method makes astronomers on Earth, who observe the asteroid belt, want to vomit blood, the situation is more urgent. If it is a few days later, the moon may really crack. And if those asteroids fall to the Earth, they can turn into meteorites and stay on the Earth, if they are lucky. I understand, this is to create an accident. Bruce has seen all kinds of monsters and demons in Gotham. He has met many perverted murderers. There are countless methods of committing crimes that are so bizarre that even Batman can hardly find them. Looking at Zhang Bihei at this time from a half-god perspective, it is almost an open book exam for Bruce. He only needs to flip through the book. A meteor shower. Chapter 999. Bihei, your journey will be to a vaster ocean. Logan, create a meteor shower. Accident? What does that mean? Zhang Bihei wants to make a wish? Bruce Wayne, no, Zhang Bihei wants to kill people, to kill those who insist on chemical rockets. Logan, but what does this have to do with meteorites? Make a wish to a shooting star to kill them? Bruce Wayne, is killing illegal in your world? Logan, it's not illegal on the battlefield. Bruce Wayne, well, is killing comrades illegal? Logan, at first, it took 5 minutes to shoot, but later it was considered a waste of bullets, and it was not done so. Loki Odinson, let me tell you. Loki Odinson, did you notice a detail? Of course, you mortals didn't notice it. That is, every time they went to space to cooperate, they had to take pictures to commemorate the occasion. Stupid mortal etiquette. So if at this time, a meteorite happened to shoot through the chest or head of those so-called old space at the speed of sound, do you think this matter would be counted on Zhang Bihei? Tony Stark, using meteorites as bullets. This is indeed possible. Just polish the stony iron meteorite a little bit, load it with gunpowder, and it will become a bullet. Tony Stark, in the space environment, there is no gravity, and no air support. As long as there are no obstacles in the middle, as long as the aim is accurate enough, even at the position of Mars, a person on Mercury can be shot in the head. Tony Stark, without gravity, the bullet will not fall to the ground. Without air support, the speed of the bullet will always remain at the speed at the time of launch. That speed is enough to break the aviation suit of that world, and then. Logan, you smart people have a lot of tricks. I'm tired of chatting with you people. Charles wants me to go to Antarctica with the asterisk of the Ministry of Defense. Fuck you. Wanda, but the Earthlings can't find it, but the Trisolarans can find it. The Trisolarans soften can monitor the entire Earth. Bruce Wayne, there is no need. In the eyes of Soften and the Trisolarans, Zhang Bihei is a triumphalist, and the Trisolarans are most afraid of triumphalists. Just a drop of water can wipe out the human fleet 400 years later. Tony Stark, that's why the Trisolarans ordered the people of the Trisolarans on Earth to do everything they can to stop the escape plan of the Earthlings. They are not afraid of the Earthlings fighting to the death with them. What they are afraid of is that the Earthlings will escape, and the Earthlings who escape will become a hidden danger, an absolute hidden danger. Tony Stark, no one can guarantee that the Earthlings who escape will not comprehend the lore of the Dark Forest, and then broadcast the location of the Earth and the Trisolaran galaxy to the entire universe through some subsequent technology. Strange, the unknown is the most terrifying. Any of these factors may lead to the demise of the entire Trisolarans. The Trisolarans dare not be careless. Strange, this is also the reason why Zhang Bihei has to pretend to be a firm triumphalist. Only in this way can he ensure that he will not be targeted by the Trisolarans. Loki Odinson, not only the Trisolarans are watching him, but the Earthlings are also watching him. If he doesn't pretend to be a winner, how can he deceive the other ignorant Earthlings and go to the future to implement his plan? The video continues. I see, you want to carve it, right? The collector understood, and he continued to ask, any other requirements? Zhang Bihei thought for a while and said, it would be best if it can be processed on a lathe. In that case, it must be an iron meteorite. The collector said, opening the glass cabinet and taking out a dark stone the size of a walnut. Look, this is it. With a high specific gravity and strong metallic properties, it can be processed on a lathe. Very good. Zhang Bihei looked at it and said, but I want a bigger one. This thing is not measured by pound. The bigger the more valuable it is. Then, this big one. Zhang Bihei pointed to the meteorite the collector took out and asked, I want 3 pieces. Do you have it? Yes, 3 pieces. 1 piece is 60,000 yuan for you. How about 180,000 yuan? After the collector quoted the price, he was ready to introduce the 3 meteorites in detail, so that he could have some advantages in the subsequent price competition. Okay, Alipay or WeChat? If you transfer money by bank card, you will have to wait a while. Liu, times have changed. The collector smiled awkwardly and said, I was actually prepared to bargain with you for this price. No, I accept it. Ahem. Listening to Zhang Bihei's prodigal speech, the collector felt even more embarrassed. If it was someone else, it would be fine, but Zhang Bihei was his colleague, so this made the collector feel a little embarrassed. He waved his hands and said, this is so embarrassing. You see, it's so easy to go to space now, and the price has fallen after all. These are actually worth. No, this is the price. Under the insistence of the 2 soldiers, the bargaining began. Although the roles of both parties suddenly switched, the seller felt that his opening price was too high and wanted to lower it, and the buyer insisted on being a sucker and insisted on buying it at an inflated price. The tactical change belongs to yes. Zhang Bihei's eyes revealed a kind of firmness, even if it is to express my respect for the person I want to send it to. It is indeed worth the price. 180,000 yuan can buy the lives of 3 or 4 old astronauts. But killing people in space is not illegal. Space, like the high seas, does not belong to any country, and naturally will not be protected and restricted by the law. In theory, even if Zhang Bihei's behavior is discovered, he cannot be sentenced. After leaving the collector's house, Zhang Bihei took the meteorite to a model making workshop. Bihei, you graduated. I'm very happy that our family has another soldier. This workshop is located in a research institute of the Space Force. It was already off work and there was no one around. His goal was here, a state-of-the-art CNC machine tool. I'm sorry that my father can't attend your graduation ceremony as promised. Zhang Bihei first cut the 3 meteorites into many pencil-thick cylinders according to a certain diameter on the machine tool, and then cut these cylinders into small sections according to a certain length. But I already know that you will join the Navy as a captain trainee. You will dedicate yourself to this romantic branch of the military, just like me. He operated very carefully, trying to minimize the waste of raw materials, and finally got 36 small cylindrical meteorites. This is not my arrangement. This is a decision made by the organization, after considering your personal wishes. After all this was done, he carefully collected the cut meteorite debris, removed the special tool selected for processing stone on the machine tool, and then stood up and walked out of the workshop. I'm proud that you made such a choice, because you can understand my mission and honor, which makes me feel very relieved. Zhang Bihei completed the rest of the work in a hidden basement. On the small table in front of him, there were 36 7.62mm caliber pistol bullets. Bihei, from childhood to adulthood, there is always more silence between us than words. He used pliers to remove the bullets of these bullets one by one, and replaced them with special meteorite bullets. But this does not mean that we have no communication. Zhang Bihei pressed 4 meteorite bullets into the magazine, then pushed the magazine into a 2010 standard pistol, and fired at a cloth bag in the corner, in the small space of the basement. The gunshot was as deafening as an explosion, and the smell of gunpowder was very thick. Language is just silent punctuation. Zhang Bihei carefully examined the 5 bullet holes on the cloth bag, and saw that the bullet holes were very small, indicating that the meteorite did not break during the launch. This world is very complicated and dangerous. Using less language will make the world in your eyes simpler. He opened the cloth bag, and took out a large piece of raw beef wrapped in it. He carefully took out the meteorite shot into the beef with a knife, and saw that the 4 sections of the meteorite cylinder had been broken into a small pile of gravel in his palm. Basically, there was no trace of processing. This result made him very satisfied. Bihei, you are still far from it in this regard. The cloth wrapped with beef is the material for making spacesuits. In order to make the simulation closer to reality, the cloth is made into a sandwich, in which thermal insulation sponges and plastic pipes are placed. I say this because I can still understand you easily. If you can make me understand, it means that your thoughts are simple and not deep enough. Zhang Bihei carefully put away the remaining 32 meteorite bullets. When the day comes, when I can't see through you, and can't understand you, but you can easily understand me, you will be considered to have truly grown up. On that day, you will definitely understand what kind of price is behind the word soldier. Zhang Bihei walked out of the basement. You already have the courage to take the first step, but on that day, you will understand that you need greater courage to make some choices that others cannot understand. Looking at the sunshine outside, Zhang Bihei made the final preparations to go to space. Your journey will be a wider ocean. Apostrophe. Chapter 1000. Respecting teachers and honoring the way. A seminar on space power will be held at the Yellow River Space Station in the near future. This meeting will determine the future direction of space development. Zhang Bihei was waiting in base number 1. He calculated the time, ejected his positioning device, and then opened the hatch, and flew away from base number 1. Only in this way, the monitoring system of base number 1 would not know that he had left the base, and his outing would not leave any records. He knew that the monitoring system of the Yellow River station would definitely detect his presence, but it would not attract any attention. The place he chose was the origin of space development, with a large amount of construction materials scattered around, including those to be used and discarded, and more garbage. Many of these floating objects were the size of a human body. In addition, the relationship between the space elevator and the surrounding space facilities is like that between a large city and the surrounding villages. The latter supply comes entirely from the former, and there is busy traffic between the two. With the adaptation to the space environment, people gradually got used to traveling alone in space. At this time, the spacesuit was like a space bicycle. The jet propulsion could make it reach a speed of 500 km per hour. It was the most convenient means of transportation within a few hundred kilometers around the elevator. Now, almost every moment, there were people wearing spacesuits flying between the elevator and the surrounding space stations. In the quiet space, Zhang Bihei's figure was so small that it was almost invisible. If he had an accident at this time, no one would come back to save him, because no one knew he was gone. Space is mysterious, and for this reason, it is also terrifying. The ignorant are fearless, and Zhang Bihei knows about space, so he knows how terrible space is. Just as he planned, Zhang Bihei used the small jet propulsion on the spacesuit to fly 10 kilometers in space, came to this long selected position, and waited quietly. He opened the toolbox that had been placed long ago, cancelled the magnetic attraction effect inside, and assembled the gun in space. Finally, he took off his gloves and exposed his skin in space. Now that the meeting is over, he is waiting for all the participants to come out and take pictures. This is for accuracy. Although bullets will not stop due to gravity and air resistance, a small mistake can make a big difference. Even if Zhang Bihei's muzzle is off by 1 mm, it will become an error of tens of meters over a long distance. In the distance at the Yellow River Space Station, people have already lined up to take pictures. This is also important information that Zhang Bihei learned earlier. Every time in space, people take pictures to commemorate the occasion. Leaders, stand in 2 rows here. We have to finish taking pictures quickly before the sun comes out. Outside the Yellow River Space Station, the old astronauts who have just finished the meeting are preparing to take pictures. Open the helmet visor now. The sun will rise in a few minutes, so let's line up quickly. Please hurry up. Generally speaking, you should take photos against the sun, because this is the only way to clearly take photos of the space station as the background. When taking photos, everyone in the group photo needs to adjust the space helmet visor to transparent, so that their faces can be exposed from the visor. If the sun is in the sky at this time, the strong sunlight will make people unable to open their eyes, and it will also make the inside of the helmet hot and uncomfortable. Therefore, the best time to take group photos is when the sun rises or sets from the edge of the earth. With the advancement of aerospace technology, activities in outer space have become easier. Even a group of old men can move freely in outer space with the help of the flight system. Several old astronauts are still communicating here using the radio inside their spacesuits. The space elevator has achieved results. Our next task is to make steady progress. The thrusters slowly pushed, pushing their bodies slowly into a row. Yeah, the young people nowadays, especially those kids without fluids, are so impetuous. The visor opened, revealing faces in the helmets. As for them, if you ask me, it's not impossible to do it without fluids, but you don't even understand the theoretical basis. How can you do it? Zhang Bihei slowly raised his gun. At this moment, he was floating in this vast void. He felt that he had cut off the connection with the blue world below, and felt that he was an independent existence in the universe. He was not attached to any world now. There was no land under his feet, and there was only space around him. Just like the Earth, the Sun and the Milky Way, he was suspended in the universe. He didn't come from anywhere, and he didn't want to go anywhere, but just existed. He liked this feeling. He even thought that his father's spirit in heaven might feel the same way. If you ask me, what they do is not science, but science fiction. Zhang Bihei widened the focus of the scope and quickly found 3 targets. As he expected, due to the level of these 3 people, they were all in the front row. take off the protective gloves, leaving only a thin cloth glove on his right hand. Zhang Bihei adjusted the angle to let the already weakening sunlight shine on his hand, otherwise his hand would soon freeze in the cold of -100 degrees in space. People have already stood in place, and Zhang Bihei's crushes on the scope quickly caught the first target. They are easy to find. Because of their status, they only stand in the middle when taking pictures, and lower the lens hood to see their faces clearly. This gives Zhang Bihei a great convenience. Zhang Bihei pulled the trigger, and the bullet fired in silence, but he saw the muzzle fire, and felt the recoil. He fired 10 times at the first target, and immediately quickly replaced the new magazine, and fired 10 more bullets at the second target, replaced the magazine again, and fired the last 10 bullets at the third target. If someone can notice Zhang Bihei's position, then he is like seeing a firefly against the dark background of space. Zhang Bihei used a 2010 model pistol. The speed of the bullet fired by this pistol is 500 meters per second. The distance between Zhang Bihei and them is 5,000 meters, which means that it takes 10 seconds to fly. The time difference of 10 seconds is enough to cause a huge error. Whether Liu Hangshan will move, whether others will be accidentally injured to block the gun, all these may lead to errors in the final result. Zhang Bihei's 30 meteorite bullets are divided into 3 areas, and they are bombarded indiscriminately. As for whether they can hit, it depends on luck. Yes, luck. Zhang Bihei's luck, Liu Hangshan's luck, and the luck of others. At this moment, luck is particularly important. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.